Day through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Jet fans, let's rock MetLife Stadium this year.
Yo, good morning. Good morning.
Morning, bro.
I'm
Good,
flying high, man.
good to be on the Jets, Mets, Yankees commute.
No Yankee commute, bro. No way.
A win is a win is a win.
Yeah, the Yanks pull. I watched the last inning of that. They did nothing, Kansas City.
Yeah,
Boy, if I'm sorry, man. If the Mets play the Yankees the way the Mets are playing right now, there's no way the Yankees can beat the Mets.
the Mets are playing good ball right now.
So, but
Now you got the Dodgers and Padres.
yeah, the Dodgers won, right? I
Yeah,
fell asleep in like the sixth, seventh inning.
I saw it was 5-0. I assume they won.
Yeah, those West Coast games are crazy, man.
I think you'd rather face the Dodgers than the Padres.
Yeah, well, Musgrove is out now for the uh, for the Padres.
Yeah, Tatis is so good, man.
Oh, I know. They got Tatis. What's that guy's name? Profar.
Yeah,
David Peralta's good. Yeah. So, but yeah, baseball back in New York, man. It's crazy. I know the Yankees are there, so but
this
it's
is
good.
why though. Again, a lot has to happen this Monday night, but the Mets were dead on arrival this year, and here they are.
Yep. Yep.
So these seasons
Well,
tend
I'm
to
gonna
happen.
say it here. Listen, Pete Alonso is an iconic Met. Francisco Lindor is an iconic Met. I don't care what anybody says.
That's fair.
He is an iconic Met. There's not a lot of history neither. So that's what with the Jets too. There's not a lot of history because
I want
they're
to hear
never
from
good.
Dale. I
Pete,
want to hear from
so
Dale if the Jets win on Monday.
so
But is
I
the Bills
I
season
well
over?
I'm not doing the Jets talk until I talk to Petey about his Mets because I think that because we do football spaces, not too many people really understand the history of baseball and what it's like to there's so many Yankees fans that fucking win all the time
Yep.
and get mad if they don't win one in 5 years. So Petey, I just got a World Series after 20 years of waiting to go back. And you're in my division, and I always kind of like with football, I get a kick out of the Mets failing all the time because it's a division rival. That being said, our recent history with the Braves is really more with every other NL East team and every other team that's in the playoffs right now, maybe aside from the Padres, who we actually just lost to.
Yep.
So what was left in the NL, I the way I go with sports is I kind of root for the underdog, or I root for the team that hasn't won the longest, or the fan base that deserves it the most. So there's certain fan bases that if they get a chance, so like in the A, I'm kind of pulling for KC, but football fandom makes me not want to, but I kind of separate them. That being said, I was listening in Spaces earlier in the year, and fucking PD all year long got kicked by everybody for still believing in this team. Given the past, given whatever, everybody told this guy nonstop all year that his season tickets were worthless, that
Yep.
there's no reason to keep pulling for this team. And to me, the magic about baseball is sometimes
Well,
rosters don't matter.
Dale, can I just interrupt you real quick? The
Yeah.
magic too is I'll stay silent because when you get critiqued on what you say, oh, I could say a lot of stuff about how I was destroyed as a Met fan, and you see it on the timeline, man. That's all I'll
And now,
say.
not only that, PD, but your recent history over the last 20 years has been extremely tough as a fan. And I tend to relate. It's one of the reasons why I like Jet Spaces. I always deal with you guys because even though we butt heads because we're a rivalry, I res- it's it's easy to be a fan of a team that always wins.
I think people undercut with the Mets. They just won over 100. They were in the World Series against the Royals. It's not as bad as you think it was for the past 20
Well,
years. It's
there,
not.
yeah, but it is if you're in the same city as the Yankees, bro. It
Yeah,
is. It is if
that's fair, but they
it
are
is if
not.
you're.
They're
Listen,
not a bottom of the
Buckeye for the
barrel
Buckeye
team. That's
for
not
the most
that's not
part.
it.
I know that, Buckeye, but listen, for the most part, the Braves dominate the East. Once in a while, another team comes up. The Phillies have been pretty dominant as of recently. In the West, it's like the Dodgers every fucking year. Like the shitty thing about baseball is with no salary cap, these large market teams have such a fucking advantage. And let's just be real, in New York City, dude, the Yankees are the show. And so to me, this is more personal to Petey listening all year to what he went through. But right at the end, especially in the end, like everybody was like, the Mets are just gonna fucking blow it anyways, and they didn't. They actually caught fire, and to me, they're the hottest team going right now in all the playoffs. They're the hottest team, and it's to me the beauty of baseball is sometimes talent in many sports talent can't get overridden, but in baseball it
Yeah,
can. A team can catch fire.
Dale, the only thing that sucks is that there's a game Friday night, and I just like the Mets to keep playing. You know what I mean? So now they got to wait till Sunday and travel, but
Hey, Petey,
it's
when it's
not
my
that
time to
big of
talk, I
a.
hope I get this much time.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I asked Pete to open early
Why you
kickoff.
always worry about everybody
What
else? You're
listen,
good.
here's the funny thing, Petey, on Kika's
I ain't even
behalf.
say no names.
If the Orioles made a run to the World Series, I'd get behind them if the Braves weren't in it because, again, those
Dale
fans
must have
stuck
got a
with that
call.
team.
Oh,
I root. Well, Petey, it's a fan base in baseball that the fans that stuck with their team through thick and thin, I tend to root for that. Like to me, it's nice in baseball when somebody else wins, besides the
yep.
big five franchises.
Dale, so we'll get into Bills Jets later. I have a guest coming on at 9 o'clock, so stay tuned. All right.
I just
Appreciate
want
you,
to
Dale,
point
for
out
reaching
that
out.
the Yankees haven't made it to the
Whoa,
World
Chance, I
Series
had
since
my hand out first, good
2009.
brother. Don't root me now.
Terrence, are you all right down there?
Yeah, we're unaffected, mostly. We just got weather. But there's a lot of people in what they call the I-4 corridor that got hit hard from Tampa all the way to Orlando and Daytona. And I think now that daylight is upon us, they're going to start assessing the damage. But a lot of people were told to evacuate, and they did. But the damage is the problem. You know, a lot of people with their homes. There were people that stayed, and supposedly there were a lot of calls in the Tampa area. Excuse me. You know, for help, trees falling down, like that type of thing. But yeah, nobody really knows yet. But in all fairness to Governor DeSantis, he basically seemed like he was prepared for everything. It's just a matter of people hopefully coming back to their homes and the damage being minimal to their homes.
Yeah, well, everybody could throw up a heart emoji. That I saw what happened to Tampa's stadium's wrecked, man. It's a shame.
Yeah, no more
Petey,
roof.
I want to say one more thing
Like,
though.
yeah, because I don't want Kicker. I want Kicker to have his
Okay, Petey,
moment.
I
His
just want to
team's
say
doing good too, by the way.
most of the shit that you took was from your own fan base when it came to the Mets. I
Oh, I
listen to
know.
baseball spaces, so to me, I see all that. I tend to go with people that are rooting for a team. Like I got a buddy that's a huge White Sox fan. When they won the World Series, I was fucking thrilled for that dude because I'm the fan of a team that doesn't have 13 championships. So whatever. But
Yep.
the other thing is
Dale, I'll
Buckeye
stay
to answer
silent on. I'll stay silent on who
and
I got ripped from.
well, Buckeye, to answer your question, no, I will not think my season's over. Last year we were down 4 games in a division, and I still had faith in my team making a run. So no, I will not. There's no circumstance we're at 3-2 until this team has 7 or 8 losses that I'll even think about that because I know they can go on a 6 or 7 game tear, just like they have for the
Yeah,
last 5 or 6 years, bro.
Mark, I know you came up. Good morning. Let Kicker go, and then we'll.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know Mark
Kicker
don't.
can't wait. Good
Yeah,
Kicker.
you know Mark don't like other sports but football. But look, man, hey Peter, you know we talked about this, man. Shut up.
Hey, shout out to the Mets, by the way,
Damn, can
Kicker.
I
Shout out to
talk?
the
God
Mets.
damn, you cutting me off. Chill, bro. Damn. Shout out to the Mets, man. Y'all did y'all thing yesterday. Of course, I took the, I took, I took the Phillies plus 1.5, and
Damn, and you
Oh,
lost.
Kicker,
the shit was looking good.
No,
Kicker,
don't interrupt them.
how
Don't
could you,
interrupt
man?
them.
Man, I know it's
Go.
about the money, man, but you lost.
Hey, no. You know I got you, Petey. Where? Oh, I can't even cuss. But where all them mother freakers at that was talking about the Mets? Matter of fact, is it Giambi? What? I can't remember his name. What?
No, we're not
No,
gonna. Don't worry about that.
Petey.
We're not gonna do that.
Petey. Where's the dude that
No, no, no,
had
no,
the
no,
Mets on the
no.
trash truck? Where he's at? I want to talk to him right now. This motherfucker probably drunk somewhere. Don't know
No,
how to
that's
act.
the
He
Jets on
turned
the
out.
Nah.
trash truck.
Uh, open up a space to talk about others, not me. I don't do that.
Whoa. See, bro. See, you acting soft now, Petey. Chill out, right? I'm just giving you your props, right? Look.
It's not soft.
No.
It's called moving the other way. That's what it's called.
Kicker, you let those guys
Yeah.
influence you on that bet, man? You took their word and you put all that money on the
No,
Phillies
I
yesterday?
took the plus. See, I ain't take the money time this time.
I
I
know
took
you
the
took the
plus.
plus one and a
Yeah,
half, and that grand slam killed you.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
I hear
did.
you.
But
You were hoping they scored a couple of runs in the ninth inning, right? You were like, come on, just get me one or two. Come on, man.
I ain't even care. The score was 4-3 as long as y'all won. But I got y'all. I already told people I like the Padres or the Mets to win the World Series. So hopefully
Hey,
y'all.
Kicker, can I talk about the Jets yet? Or you still going?
I mean, we still got other people that want to talk about the Mets. So I think you gotta wait, good brother.
We know Kicker's
The
not ever going to
Mets.
pick the Yankees. We know that.
Yeah, you know what? I did want to see a Subway World Series though. But I mean, if y'all go to the World Series, you know who I got? I got the Mets. Hey, Petey, I ain't forget what you said either, Petey. You said if y'all go to the World Series, you got a ticket for me, so don't lie to me now, good brother. Don't lie to me.
And shit. It's a three-letter word. It's called tax.
Kicker,
So
if there's a Subway Series, please bet on the Mets 4 times, bro.
For sure. I'm taking the Mets all day long.
There you go.
actually, to be honest, Kicker, I already spoke to my little son, my 8-year-old. I asked him if the Mets make it, would you go to the World Series? And he actually started shaking his head. So my boy has number one choice, and that would be a dream come true for me.
Petey, that would cement his fanhood forever if he experienced that.
Yeah, I'm getting thinking about it now, man. That'd be incredible. So let's go Mets.
Well,
Mark,
Petey, that's why that's what I was thinking when I messaged you. Is sometimes this shit's bigger. Like, dude, I was trying to get my son to be a Braves fan, and I told him, Bills and Sabres, you got no choice, or I won't feed you. But for baseball, I let him pick his own team, and there was a couple other teams he was rocking with, and the Braves winning a World Series a couple years ago cemented him as a Braves fan. Going through that with him, and that shit meant the world to me. So that number, like the thoughts that I think about, and you live in an area where there's another team in the same area, and 3/4 of his friends are probably Yankees fans.
Lucky he wasn't born in '96, right, Dale?
Well, listen. I was loyal to the Braves because as a kid they had Dale Murphy, and it was the only other pro athlete named Dale, and that's all it took. But for
hey
my
Dale.
son, he had a plethora of teams to choose
No,
from. Yeah, go ahead, Petey.
Dale. You know what I thought was classy, and then Mark, we can move to football. What Chip Jones did. He put out about the Mets. I'm shocked. Like that. Have a good day, man. Uh, I'm shocked about that. That was classy, man. That was real classy by Larry.
Well, Petey, that's the funniest thing is, as a kid, I rooted for him because of Dale Murphy, and throughout my childhood, their best player's last name was Jones. It was like it was meant to be.
Talking about Chipper and Andrew Jones.
Larry, yep.
Chipper and Andrew, and my favorite player before that was Dave Justice. But that being said, as a kid, they had the Joneses, and literally started rooting for them because they had Dale Murphy and we had the
Dale,
same name. That was
Dale.
all I needed.
Speaking of that, I don't want to lose Mark. I'm kidding, but
Yeah, I
my
tuned out,
favorite
man.
Brave was Julio Franco. I love the way he batted, man. He was a beast as a kid. Mark, what do you got for the Jets to pivot?
Oh, we're talking about. I see Jets Mets commute. I see the Mets is in all caps, and I see a lot of trumpets. Are those tubas or the French horn up? What is
Yeah,
that?
those are the trumpets to drain out the Bills fan. You see how it says Bills Week?
Oh, I see. Okay, all right. Well,
Bills
look, the
minus
Jets
13
are
and a half.
playing. The Jets are playing for first place in the division this week, and not at the record that I think either Jets fans or maybe even Bills fans were thinking it would happen. And I posted something up in the Jumbotron from Dan Orlovsky. It's an 8-minute clip, but in case you don't have time to watch all 8 minutes, he says something at the 3-minute mark. He says, right now, the Jet offense, they are all taking turns sabotaging drives. The quarterback sails a ball, the receiver runs the wrong route, tight ends that are blocking uh, like fail on a double team, offensive linemen missing blocks.
Yes.
Unless they change the play caller, I don't expect anything productive out of this Jet offense. And I know folks are saying, oh, well, firing Saleh fixes the problem. The news flash is that it doesn't. The offense has serious issues, and in my opinion, they fired the wrong guy first.
Mark, I can't argue with you about the firing part. I think Hackett should have gone first, but ultimately both of them had to go. But Mark, I don't know if you saw. I should have posted it, man. I saw Morgan Moses yesterday was really speaking up about some things, about how they have to execute and communicate and all that too. So Morgan Moses was taking accountability big time, man. So Mark, I know you don't. I've been saying it too. I said it during the game the other day. I said low key the Jets miss Morgan Moses, and they do. Now, if Tyron Smith is hurt or something, you put Fashanu out there. If Smith is out, maybe Fashanu plays better on the left side. I don't think he's been bad in the passing game, but he also hasn't been good in the run game. So that's my take on that.
Well, they can't run the football, Pete. And the second Morgan Moses got hurt, I was like, man, it's not good because they want to run the football with Moses out. And look what's happened. Like 2 games of dreadful run play. Like Brees looked as bad as he could, as bad as he has. And then in the last game, they averaged 1.7 yards an attempt. Like, and then you have to have Rodgers throw 54 times. Like, I hate sounding like a broken record on this shit, but like, folks are like, oh, Mark, don't worry about it. We got rid of the head coach, so everything, they'll get a boost. And then don't worry, other changes are coming. Well, I want to know, like, now they got to show me, like, how long is this honeymoon period with Ulbrich? Does he have a month to change the staff? Because
Mark,
everyone's telling me, hold on, everyone is telling me,
yeah.
okay, well, you know what? Downing was Saleh's guy. Keith Carter was Saleh's guy. Well, now these guys are Ulbricht's guys. He needs to make the decision about whether he keeps this staff or gets rid of him. I'm done blaming Saleh for failures of the Jets this season because
Well,
he's
you
fired.
can't now. You
Exactly.
can't
So
now.
enough is enough.
Right.
This
I'm
offense needs to
actually
produce and
shocked.
perform.
I'm actually shocked you're not positive about, you're usually Mr. Positive, and I don't think it's any smokescreen or whatever. I really don't.
Pete, I want this team to make a
I,
run in
I,
the next 4 games, but I have to call it like I see it, dude. And this is how I'm seeing it.
yeah, Neil, if you want to jump in, go ahead, man.
Yeah, man. I was just gonna say, we spent a lot of time bantering all summer, Jets, Dolphins, and the irony of it all is there's so many similarities between the way the Jets and Dolphins franchises are run. And if you want to look at the
I knew
last,
you were going to say that.
if you look at the last 10 years, right? Like the Jets and Dolphins are as unserious of football organizations of any team in the entire NFL. And we both are in this window, which we deemed our Super Bowl window, and we're having these same problems that have haunted both of these franchises for years. And for me, the similarity that they have is they both have billionaire owners that I don't think their intentions are bad. They just don't know football. They don't know how the operation works, and they don't have good voices in their head that are helping them steer the business. Like, a lot of people don't know this. Before Stephen Ross bought the Dolphins from Wayne Huizenga, the Dolphins were the second winningest team in terms of winning percentage in all of professional sports behind the Yankees. Since Stephen Ross took it, now they're down to like 16th overall on that list. Like, these
Yeah,
owners,
Neil, can I make a point real
yeah,
quick to
absolutely,
you?
man.
To
Sure, Smith.
to that point, because just it made me think of something. Look at Steve Cohen. He came into the Mets. He freaking spent all this money and it didn't work. I think David Stearns is a great baseball mind, and look at what David Stearns put together this year. And
Right.
everybody destroyed him. He got the right baseball guy. I
Well,
don't think Steve Cohen's a great owner, and I agree with you on these owners, man. Some of them have no clue.
and look at the
Go ahead.
Cowboys. Look at the Cowboys. They're another team with a meddling owner who gets involved in the business and doesn't do. So, the snowball's rolling downhill. You fire your staff hoping that they can catch that snowball and push it back up. Sometimes you just got to let that snowball hit the ground and then find a new hill to push it up and get a new foundation. And that's where, like, I don't know if you've, in Dolphins land, there's a lot of people saying, oh, we're going to fire Chris Greer and keep Mike McDaniel. And I like Mike McDaniel. And I think Mike McDaniel in 2 to 3 years is going to be a really good head coach in this league. I've never seen it work when you fire a GM and keep the coach, or if you fire the coach and keep the GM. When organizations are tainted, you have to cut the head off the snake. And I think, it's unfortunate. I think the most frustrating thing, if I was a Jets fan, is that I read this morning that they had conversations in the offseason about letting go of Salah and find someone else. Like, why wait 5 weeks into the football season? If you had already had those conversations, you had already had your doubts, you were willing to risk and mortgage your Super Bowl window, which I just think, it's sad. And, I live here in Baltimore. I get to see how the Ravens operate. Stephen Bouchatti, you could go to any country club here in Maryland. He's probably out there golfing. He doesn't involve himself at all. When Ozzie was the GM, he's like, Ozzie, this is your show. You run it. With Eric DeCosta, he's like, Eric, it's your show. You go run it. You tell me what you need. Call me. Just don't interrupt my golf game. Like, that's where, you own a business. You hire people you trust. You put people into positions to utilize their strengths. I think, unfortunately, when the owners meddle, these are the teams that underachieve year after year. The Jets, the Dolphins, the Cowboys. Those are the teams right now that, they can't get out of their own way. They might have talented rosters. I'm sure they have holes, but like, I think it's the ownership that cost these franchises and their fans, the results that we all want.
I
Yeah, I don't
agree.
know. I don't know if I would describe Woody Johnson as a meddling owner. Like he's clearly not as engaged, I think, as like Jerry Johnson. Something like I would love to have an ownership family like the Rooneys, or like some of these other first families of football. But I think if I've had this conversation with Ground before, it's like if I were to acquire an asset like the Jets, like this, like a huge money asset like this, I would drop everything and learn everything there was to know about football so that then I could maximize the value of that asset. I just don't know how engaged Woody is. I think he listens to the fans a little too much. I think he listens to
Hmm.
some of his friends a little too much, and he's got an ego. And then he lost overseas in front of his friends, and then you listen to the fans who were saying they got to fire this guy. That's the solution, and that's about as. This is the same owner, by the way, who hired a consultant to have him hire coaching staff, and we all know how that turned out. Like
Yeah,
this guy
Mark.
needs to learn football, and no one's holding him accountable
But
for the And then they're
yeah,
raising
Mark.
prices.
Yeah, well, Mark, what he did last November, even I was furious about. He better not do it again, which he's probably going to. But you can't do that to the fans, especially after what we've been through. And Mark, to be honest, he's actually putting his son now, his youngest son, whatever his name is, he's in every meeting now, like he's around the team. I guess he's
Well, it's going
trying
to
to
be a
pass it
family
on to
affair,
him.
of course. Yeah, it's going
Right.
to be a family asset, and I just hope that his son starts learning football better than Woody has. I'm sick
It,
and tired of this shit.
Mark, it's almost like it's for these guys that have all this money, right? Like it's kind of like a hobby, right? Like the way they run their teams, and being successful like that in your life to get that accumulation of wealth, you don't like to be told you're wrong. You don't like to be told that your way is not the right way, and I think that happens a lot of cases. And yeah, and I don't know how Woody Johnson, how, but some of the moves he makes, some of the decisions he makes, it seems like he doesn't do it in tandem with the remaining executives on his. He kind of just operate like this firing this week seems like it was just on a whim. Like for us, Stephen Ross went and met had his partner meet Tom Brady on a boat, right? Like these things, you don't see good football organizations doing these things. That's why when I talk to my friends and they're like, if you could add any football player to your roster or any executive over the last 20 years, who would you do? And I always say Ozzie Newsome. Give me Ozzie Newsome. Give me the guy who knows how to build an organization from the ground up, whose first draft picks were Jonathan Ogden and Ray Lewis. And, like that's the type of guy that I want. Give me someone who knows how to win. Like that's, like if the Dolphins, like even if Tua wasn't hurt and they had this roster, the one thing I'm learning a hard lesson on in the last 2 years is they don't know how to win. They can go beat teams they're better than, and that's fine. And I think we're seeing a little bit of this with the Jets. They don't know how to go win. Like they don't know how to win when their backs are against the wall, the game is on the line. Like that comes, I think a lot of that comes from the experience and the coach. And that's where the Chiefs don't look like world win. They don't look like world beaters at this point of the season. But when it's crunch time and it's the postseason, you know, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, that team will be ready. We all know that, right? We've seen that. Last year, on Christmas, I'm high-fiving my dad laughing because the Chiefs are getting blown out by the Raiders. And it's like, here they are hoisting up another Lombardi just a few months later. So it's interesting, man, and it's turbulent. And I don't, it's only week 5, week 6 of the football season, but it does seem that both of our franchises at this point are underperforming, obviously, but have more questions than answers.
I agree with that. Sherm, good morning. How are you? Sherm,
I'm on about now.
you're in
I'm
the
in that
you're in the
Tampa Bay
mixer,
area.
bro. Oh man,
Ooh,
do you live in
can you hear me?
Florida? Yeah,
Oh
you
yeah,
live in
oh
Florida.
yeah. Yep, Tampa Bay.
You're on delay.
About
I think
30
you're on
minutes.
delay, bro.
I'll drop. Hold on.
Yeah, come right back. Be safe, bro. Mark, it's crazy. We really haven't even dug into this Bills game at all. I mean, it's my fault too, because I've been sucked into the negativity of the Jets, like always. I don't know,
Well,
Mark,
Pete,
if
we
you can hear me.
spend no, I can because we spend 3 days um, talking about the loss, over and over, like similar points, and then right near the end of the week, like Thursday, Friday, we start going into the matchup, um, and we could talk about it. But I mean, right now the Jets are in the midst of the Jets are in a mode where they're like happy to beat themselves. Like the play I'm seeing on
Yeah, Mark,
offense is
they have to
it's
win this
dreadful.
week, Mark. Mark, this is as must a win as a franchise for the franchise, and they have to win this game, Mark.
If they go on like a 2-3
They
game
have.
slide here, it's a wrap. Like I don't know
I
how they right the
agree.
ship, and even and
Sure.
then the staffing changes will not have happened
Yep.
fast enough.
Sherm.
Because yeah, go ahead.
Let's get to Sherm. He's down in Tampa area, man. I hope you're safe, man.
Oh yeah, safe, no problem. There was some there's like was stated by the gentleman from Orlando. It was a different storm over here. It's real. We're trapped in. We house is fine, but there's some trees down everywhere. The wind howled. We'll be without power for 3 to 5 days. I'm just hoping I can still get on the plane up to the Jets. But hey, I'm gonna find solace in coming to the commute and having a conversation.
Your
You on the
Wi-Fi
border
is
again?
bad, man. Yeah, it's probably because there's no power and stuff. Guys, I know Sherm, we can't hear you, but I know, there's a lot of bantering sometimes. But if you guys can all put a heart up for the people of Florida and who's ever affected by this, because this is some serious shit, man. My uncles are down in Tampa, the area of Tampa, and you know, sports, is a healer for all this stuff. It's an escape. So this is what we try and do. Continue, Mark.
Well, I'm just bummed, Pete, because I thought these two teams were going to look like two of the best teams in football. And like the Bills came down to earth, and then the Jets decided to fire their head coach and retain their offensive staff. And now the quarterback has sustained 2 injuries in 2 games. So I'm like, all right, well, and you looked at the tape. I mean, I don't know what they're thinking on offense. I really don't. And I was supposed to leave. I hate to sound like a broken record, but I'm being sold at the head coach that, okay, great, they fired the coach, so now we're good. No. Like, what's that, Maddie?
I just said quarterback shouldn't be playing if he's injured. He's Brett Favre'ing us from 2008.
The bummer also, where I'm also bummed, is that one of the big questions I had leading into the league year was what version of Aaron Rodgers were the Jets going to get. I'm not saying he played, perfect or even great against Minnesota, but against New England, we were seeing a version of Rodgers where he looked fully healthy to me. He was working outside the pocket. He scrambled for first downs. He was throwing off schedule. He was throwing dimes, and then he got hurt. And now everyone's saying, well, guys, he's old. He's washed. He's like, no, he's fucking hurt. And he doesn't have his starting right tackle. And they're not helping him with his play calling and with the blocks. And people are dropping balls. Like, he's not getting the help he needs. So it's like, now this is the version of football we're watching in the offensive side of the ball. And instead of firing the coordinator, whatever, I'm sounding like a broken record, but it's just like, when I see a problem, I try to address it. When Woody Johnson sees a problem, he finds the closest problem to him and gets rid of it. Like, I don't fucking understand this.
I think Hackett should have been gone, Mark. That, Maddie, I don't know if you want to jump in on this. I mean, I think Hackett should have been gone. Solid. I think Woody caved into the fans' pressure. I really do. I do. And okay, I'm not, it sucks that Salah lost his job, like I don't wish that on anybody. But the writing was on the wall, Mark. Mark, I saw something June posted. When Rodgers was coming off the field, like Salah didn't even really talk to him when he got hurt on that play. Like I don't know if you can read into that or whatever, but I don't know what you think or what Maddie thinks or what do you think of that?
I'm not sure what happened when they went off the field, but here's the one thing I know. When you're the coach of an NFL team or a sports team in New York and you get up to that podium day in and day out or after a game and when someone says to you, when's the job going to get done or how are you guys doing? And when the results are not good and you look at everyone and say, I think I feel like it's going to get better soon, or I'm not worried about it. Or if you don't show any sort of sense of urgency, that is a big problem in New York City.
Oh, Maddie, Mark, don't get upset about this. I just came across this. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza is asked if he feels the pressure of managing postseason baseball. Mendoza, I'm prepared. When you're prepared, it's a good feeling. I am having a really good time. How's that for a leader?
When you're winning, you can say shit like that. When you're losing over and over again because you have a failing offense and you're in front of the press and they keep asking you the same questions and you have no answers because you're waiting for the offense to figure out their shit. What do you expect this guy to say?
Well, Mark, but the Mets were dead in the water, man. I'm just saying, like, this guy went through a lot of adversity this year, and I know it's different in football, but Salah and the Jets have been trash for 3.5 years. Let's be real.
Pete, look, I'm happy for you, happy for your team. That's great. About the Jets. How can I put this? I care a lot more about the product on the field than I do what these guys say at the podium. Because I've heard this one too. Oh, he's so lifeless, dead-eyed, on the side, like all this. I care about the product on the field. And when you see folks all over the offense fucking up, like, I don't know. It's pretty obvious to me what the problems are on the team and how to address those problems. But instead, the knee-jerk was get rid of the coach. And I'm not saying this is the other part. I'm not saying Salah's perfect, not by any stretch. He had issues with time management. I think he had issues with, if it's a fourth down call or not. Issues with I'm not putting a gold jacket on this guy either. Okay, but he was far from the worst problem on the team at the time of his firing. Your Buckeye's got a hand up, and I see Mr. Sandy.
Yeah, my thing is, I don't know when this became I think it's Hackett, I think it's Saleh, because I think it's both, and I think they both have as much to be blamed, and I don't see a lane that Saleh deserved to keep his job. Do I believe it was prudent to do it 5 games into the season? No, that was asinine. That was really asinine to not take care of this in the offseason, especially when we had our pick of the litter of amazing coaches. But a guy who was 20-36, 18 double-digit losses, like, the back of his card sucks. He will never be a head coach in the NFL ever again. He is a terrific defensive coordinator. He'll have his pick of the litter of a DC job, and he deserves that. He seems like a tremendous human, but he's not a head coach. But no, I think, I don't know where this became, people are supporting Hackett over Saleh, because I'm not hearing that. I think people hate both.
So you said you don't think that Saleh will ever be a head coach again. Do you think Brian Flores will?
I do. I actually do. But remember,
so Vance Joseph is doing a nice
Mark,
job
that's
in
not the
Denver.
same.
You think he
That's not
gets
the
a
same
nod?
conversation. He had double-digit wins in Miami. Saleh never came close to double-digit wins. He didn't come close to that.
I understand the win-loss, but the context I put around the win-loss is when the offense is underperforming dramatically. Because last
Mark.
time, and I don't want to say this in a snide way, but like last time I checked, you got to score points to win football games. And so every defensive-minded head coach needs an offense as a counterpart to them. They're held hostage by their OC.
Mark, yes, but we exhausted ourselves, and there's a ton of hands up, including me.
But Denver just won
What
on
did I
10
say?
points. 10 points,
Yeah,
and Bo Nix had, 60 yards? Like, he won. He won that game. He won that game in our building. That's atrocious. That's atrocious that his quarterback had, 60 yards, and he won that game in our building. No way, man. I can't live with that one.
yeah, Mark. To be fair, I mean, again, I'm screaming about Rodgers. I defended him, and now it was the same stuff. And Mark, you're right. It's on the offense. I agree with you, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it comes down to the person in charge, Mark. And I know they didn't get rid of they cut the snake, but there's still other parts that should be cut too in my eyes. I don't think Hackett should be here, but he's only here because of A-Rod. Who's next, Mark? Do you know?
I know Mr.
Neil?
Sandy was trying to get up, and then Viz.
All right, and then we'll get back to Neil. Go ahead. Robert, what's up? Good morning, man. How you doing? I mean, Matthew. I always call you Robert. My bad.
It's all good.
How many times have I done that to you, man? About 30? Shit, we
Uh,
go back like 3 years on this, man.
I mean, I guess it's all the fans, everybody that you got, calling in. So you got a lot of fans that are up, trying to get on. So it's all good. Um,
Yep. Okay.
so only to I think just real quick to Bucky's question, I think you were saying that Salah will never be another a head coach ever again in the NFL. That's just you're taking speculation. I mean, you never know what can happen. No, people change. You learn a process from being fired, except for the Nathaniel Hackett situation, because he should have had time off to really think about even coaching again. You as a first time coach and you get fired within your first season. That's a mental thing you got to deal with, and you can't just jump back into coaching right off the bat. So I think that's where they went wrong in bringing Nathaniel Hackett in. I think that was Salah's mistake what to me really led to getting fired because I didn't see anything he did compared to when we had LaFleur. LaFleur to me was a little bit better, even though it was times that we criticized him being awful. His schemes were a little bit more better. He got the running backs open a little bit more in order for Brees to look the way Brees is supposed to look. You could see it, and then on top of that, um, I heard. I don't know if you guys watch. It's something called the Insiders with like former football players. Um, what's his name? LaShawn McCoy and the that wide receiver that played with Rodgers. They were speaking, and I think it was the quarterback. He said Rodgers plain flat out is a coach firer, and he didn't like say it as in he says something to get the coach fired. It's just his actions puts the coach in position to get fired. And then on top of that, I heard when I was watching what you call it NFL Live, the big man Swagoo, he said the moment they went to get Aaron Rodgers is the moment Robert Sala became the most unimportant person in the building because you flew to a player to get him instead of him flying to you. And the moment his voice became the things that he had to say inside the room became like, oh, this is who I want, this is who I want, this is who I want. Automatically, they forgot all about who Robert Tyler is as a head coach. To me, this is just my option, my opinion. I saw that from the beginning. As
Did you
soon
guys?
as I found,
What's up, guys? What's up?
what's up? As soon as that happened, you see a lot of things start swindling the opposite direction. These last two games where Rogers was like upset and showing frustration and everything like that. Really and truly, I wasn't saying that that was on necessarily the head coach. The head coach, yeah, he should have planned his foot down and taken charge of the situation and start making adjustments and changes. But he just allowed things to keep flowing and flowing the way they were, which wasn't helping. That last game, that Rogers shoot three picks, I ain't gonna lie to you. I would have taken him out the third quarter and put what's the name inside there? Tyrod Taylor. One, because there was times when there were gaps that was open. Aaron Rodgers could have run with the ball and pick up some yardage. Tyrod Taylor would have done that. I saw that interception by Van Ginkel. If you guys watch the tape closely, he went to throw the ball to Garrett Wilson, but Tyler Conklin had his head turned ready to receive that football in the opposite direction. I didn't know how Rodgers did not see that. As a quarterback, the same way like when you guys said, I think it was Monday, Pete, you said that Quincy said something about people need to be held accountable. He wasn't really firing at the coach. It was we as defense for 3 years was doing our job. When the hell is the offense going to step up? That's where that was going.
Wow.
When
So
are the
you think
offenses?
you think Quincy Williams was talking about Rogers?
That's not Rogers in the offense. We brought you over here to do a job. That's one. We brought you over here to do a job. And the last two games, it was shitty. Let's be honest. You got to be held accountable. You're a QB. Yes, you're Aaron Rodgers. You're a Super Bowl winning champion. But think about this for a second, guys. When they drafted Jordan Love in Green Bay, everybody was shocked, right? But look at LaFleur. He knew what was happening. Rodgers was getting up there in age, but he also knew he was going to be a problem. As far as he getting up there and he demands this X, Y, and Z. Look at Green Bay last season. They started off shaky, and then they were one play away from making the playoff. This season, they
Well, they
started off a
made
little shaky. He
they
got
made
hurt,
it. They,
but
yeah, they went on a little run there. They were one play away from making it to the championship game.
exactly. Look at the way they play now. They play again. Yeah, the Rams may be banged up, but they started playing football now. They say Nathaniel Hackett, but to me, if I look at it, most of these play calls that happen in Green Bay under LaFleur, even though Rodgers was a two-time MVP, most of these play calls did not come from Hackett. They came from LaFleur. You got to look at the way the style of football, the way how they play their football.
Hmm.
They came from him. Even though Nathaniel Hackett may have something to say, remember he's the head coach, so and he's an offensive mind as well. So he was able to change some plays in order to make it work for the team. What is Nathaniel Hackett doing right now? He isn't doing much. I
Nope.
haven't seen anything different from what he did compared to when we had, what's his name, Mike LaFleur.
It's all been bad, man.
It's been,
Jeremy
it's been,
Bates.
it's, it's,
How
it's
about
all
how
been
about
bad.
this guy, Dowell Loggins? Neil knows about him. whatever his name is, Dowell Loggins. I mean, it's
But like
just been there's no leadership here, man, and hopefully Ulbrich can bring some, fire to the team,
and I
Matthew,
think that was the main thing that Robert Sala. That's when they say we'll point fingers was not putting his foot down and actually take that leadership because getting up on the point, like Mark said, every single week he keep getting slammed with the same questions
Yep.
over and over, and you get tired of hearing it because it's like I already answered your questions. What do you want me to tell you now? Because you
Hey
could
guys,
another.
thanks for letting me up, man. Appreciate it. Good morning.
Yeah,
Full,
no problem. Hold
full
on, Briz.
yeah, full transparency. Live-
Briz, I got people with hands up. I'm letting Matthew. I'm letting Matthew talk because number one, he's a veteran. So, I respect what he does as a person. So I'm going to let him go. So I
He's
need a
also
decorum.
cooking.
Yeah. So sorry. You just please wait your turn. Continue, Matthew.
typical New Jersey guy. I'm sorry about that.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah. Typical New Jersey. So what? So what? Hold on. Let's get into typical New. So what does that mean? Explain
No,
that to me.
I'm just kidding that I was being rude and cutting
Now
somebody
you're
off.
just kidding. So where are you
I,
from?
I'm from New Jersey.
Oh, really? Shout out to you, man. Have a great day. All right. Why don't you be positive for once?
Petey, he was talking about himself.
All
He's
right.
self-deprecating.
Oh, okay. We're good. Go ahead, Matthew.
Nah, Brits, good
My
morning to
bad,
you.
Briz.
Good morning, guys.
I'll be real quick. I was just explaining, like how I see certain things. But the firing to me, the firing the coach was a little harsh. Um, Especially like 5 games in. If you wanted to fire, you should have fired him last season, then at the end of the season, or just wait till the end of the season. But like it kind of hit the players kind of hard that he actually went through the door because now they all stand up at the podium and it's like some of them have never experienced it before. Like a coach being fired like 5 games in, you got to play a Monday night game. So we'll see as the game goes along because if the Jets go on a run right now, and let's just say they win 7 in a row, what's the first thing that's going to be say? Oh, Robert Sala was the problem. That's all I got, Petey.
Thanks, bro.
We had Viz up next, though. Is Viz still here?
Briz. Did Briz leave? Did I scare him away? Buckeye, thanks
Yeah,
for the
he's.
assist.
No problem. No problem.
Neil, go ahead.
I was going to
Oh,
say, Mark, you were consistent this offseason on the best version of Aaron Rodgers was going to be leaning on the running game for the Jets. And I'm sorry.
Viz, can you hear Neil?
I can hear Neil. I'll let Neil
All right.
go, and then I'll jump in.
All right.
I was just going to say, so I watched the All 22 because I saw that Aaron Rodgers threw 54 times, and I was like, why would the Jets abandon the run? And, I think Flores had a good game plan where he was sending more than the Jets had up front, and they were attacking the running lanes really, really well. But I did see some hesitation from Brees Hall, and it looks like he's going down on initial contact. And just in when I've seen, and I don't watch every Jets game, but from what I've seen in this 5 game sample size, it seems like right now that Brees Hall's pressing a little bit, and Braylon Allen's running a lot looser, and the Jets are more successful when Braylon Allen's getting carries. Am I off base here to think that maybe having Brees take a back seat? It doesn't have to be permanent. It could be temporary to get his confidence, let Braylon Allen beat up the defense a little bit, soften them up, and then Brees Hall comes in and has bigger running lanes, right? So I think, Braylon Allen looks like to me he's earned more carries. Am I off base on that, or is that something you guys agree with?
It's an interesting
I
point.
yeah.
Okay.
No, well, first of all, I'm going to bring some humor here. As Marv Albert would say, a rare compliment from Neil to Mark on that. Mark, you did stay consistent, though. You did say the Jets needed to run the ball in order to be successful. I will give you that for sure. You were on that hill a million% on that.
Well, the personnel changes to me, like, that told me what they were trying to do. And just when you have an older quarterback coming off injury, right, and you're changing up, they have 3 new starters on their O line. right? Two of which are more gap power guys than they are zone blockers. Like AVT, I think is a great zone guard, but from a power and he's athletic, he can get to the second level, but he's not like a power. You don't see him pancake people straight up. Like that's just not the kind of player he is. I like AVT a lot, but like these moves, I wonder if Brees is struggling in. I mean, listen, man, any back's going to struggle in gap power if folks aren't actually blocking up front. Like the Jets running backs, regardless of who's back there, they're getting hit behind the line of scrimmage, I think, at the highest rate of any backfield in the NFL. So,
Yeah.
like, no one can get started.
Mark, but wasn't that the same thing that happened last year, Mark? We did it. That guy, James Foster, came on. And what? He said Brees Hall was hit in back of the backfield 48 point something percent of the time. That just made me think of something. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do. And you're right. Listen, I I hate saying the same shit over and over again, but I feel like the Morgan Moses injury, I'm seeing this as like this is the same thing that happened when ABT got hurt. Like when ABT got hurt, the quality of the line play fell off a cliff, and they stopped being able to run the football. With Morgan Moses out, like look at what the Jets were like leading up to with Morgan. Like they were starting to find their way in the run game with Morgan Moses on the field. After he got hurt, the shit fell off a cliff because now you're starting a rookie right tackle who can be great in pass pro. He's playing out of position, but he's not. He's not an NFL run blocker. Like, just watch what he's doing. And I'm not trying to shit on him because I think he's the future left tackle for the team. But he's a great. He'll be a great player in 2025 and 6 and 7. But right now, like, I don't like what I'm seeing out of him in the run game. And they need, in my opinion, if Moses isn't ready to go, I think they need to change up at right tackle and give Carter Warren a look and see if he can run block. I don't like
I'm
this
not
at
on
all,
that yet.
Pete. Do you think I like this? But what are you going
Mark,
to do? You can't run the football.
Mark, was that a bad game from Tyron Smith, or has he been showing that for the most of this season?
Neil, what I'm seeing is that every player, Tyron Smith included, like good players, are taking turns effing up.
Yeah.
And that's what Orlovsky's saying. If you watch, there's a clip in the jumbo at like the 3-minute mark. He says the same thing. He's like, Lazard will drop it. Aaron Rodgers, who's been excellent this year, like he's starting to F up. He's sailing passes, or he's, a double move from Garrett Wilson and he doesn't hit the guy. Lazard's dropping balls. Tight ends are missing blocks and double teams. Like everyone's taking their turn being a joke, and it's killing drives, and the whole offense is suffering from this. When it's one player, I'm like, cool, sit the player, like get somebody else in there and figure it out. When the whole offense is doing it, like I know who I hold accountable for that, but that's whatever. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah.
Well, Mark,
Let's get.
real quick. Even I think I don't know if everybody noticed, but some of these what you call it, these unsportsmanlike conduct calls, I think is a little extreme because like there was one ball that Alan Lazar caught and he sat on the floor and he did a finger pointing. Like he had, like two guns, whatever the case may be, and they call a 15-yard penalty after he got the first down. I was like, oh, they're not going to score on that drive for that.
Yeah, that killed it. That killed the drive.
And
They were going
I didn't
in.
know how that.
They were going
I
in.
never saw a call like that ever in my life. And some of them are getting ridiculous because I even had one guy, he's like from the Washington Command. He's a fan of the Washington Command. He said he's watching the game and he's like, how is that unsportsmanlike conduct?
Yeah, I agree, Robert. Tyleek, what up? Good morning.
What's up, Petey? How are
How
you?
you doing, man?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
Good, man. Games are still to 12 in basketball. I'm checked out. I haven't played in a while. You still play when you play? Is it 12 or 20,
What
21?
are you talking about? Like pickup hoops? Yeah,
Yeah.
depends. It depends. Usually it's 21. If it's like the last game, you like on crunch time before the gym closes, probably like it's probably like fucking 11. But how you guys doing today? I think that the problem with Brees Hall is that like Nate Hackett isn't using his personnel the right way, and I mean that like up front. I agree with what Mark said. A lot of the guys that we have up front aren't like real deal like power scheme blockers, and I think Brees Hall is more so a guy you want to get on the edge to test your defense so you can hit a home run play. These run concepts that he's throwing out there are like 2005, very stale. You mix that with the horrible timing of the play calls is just a mix for disaster. In regards to like Breece Hall not starting, I don't agree with that though. Like it's Breece Hall, he's a great playmaker regardless of where you put him on the field. I feel like they should run more 2-back sets and figure it out from there. I also feel as though that with Olu, he's going through rookie pains, and he was never like the most physical like guy at the point of attack. So when you put him at right tackle it's not his natural position, while also like the right tackle is usually the guy you want to be road grading, and in a scheme where he's more so footwork. I think a zones like running more zone concepts for him would be way more in his favor. He just hasn't he's had a really like bad matchup his first 2 games in the league. Like these guys, like these last 2 defenses we played thrive on like confusing your offensive line with like stunts.
Yeah, Tyreek, I have a question for you. What is Breece Hall, as us as Jet fans and other people can answer? What Breece Hall is very good in space. We know this. How come they cannot identify that, or they just
It's
can't
Nate
get it
Hackett.
done?
Nate Hackett right
Like,
now is the
right.
biggest issue.
That's what I'm. But Tyreek, that's the thing. Like, we're fans. We talk about this shit, every day, and these guys, it's their job. And we're noticing this.
Yeah.
It's just awful,
Yeah,
man.
it's Nate Hackett, man. Honestly, and to be honest with you, like to respond to what Mark said about like the run game finding its way, I think Morgan Moses is definitely like a big miss. Having him is going to be amazing, but like you also got to put in perspective that Aaron Rodgers was playing good football outside of the last 2 games. Like he did not have a good game last game, so I don't want to absolve Aaron Rodgers from responsibility
I
for
get
last
it,
game.
Tyreek. I don't think he played good, Tyreek. I don't. He didn't play good. That pick 6 is on him. And of course, it's a pick 6 because it's against the Jets. Of course, Quincy Williams gets tripped up. That wasn't on Quincy at all. He just got tripped
Yeah,
up.
but
Can I comment on this?
that doesn't necessarily mean though as well. I just want to like reiterate, this is not me
Okay.
being negative. I'm not negative, so I still think we're
No,
smoking
Tyreek,
the
I
Bills'
know.
boots this this Monday, because I think that like our defense is
Tyreek,
still our defense.
We got to give Quincy a
Tyreek.
break on that. Darnold used to be a linebacker too, guys. Come on.
Good point. Tyreek, thank God. I hope you did not put the mortgage on that Robert Sala bet. Please tell me you didn't.
Listen, it wasn't because I think Robert Saleh is like a world-beating coach. I think that like if he would have we would have went along with the season and we were successful and they made the playoffs, he would have been in the running for coach of the year given all the context of surrounding that. So it is what it is. You win some, you lose some.
Fair enough. Tyreek, it's always cool to talk to you, man. Appreciate you. Good guy, man. Guys, at 9:00, Nate Geary, who covers the Bills pre-post, halftime, will be on. If you guys are listening, we're on YouTube live streaming Jets Commute. This space is actually live right now on YouTube. So if you're not on Twitter, and you're listening on YouTube, appreciate you guys. And we're working on to get the chat going into here. We're trying to figure out some kinks. It's still new. But if you guys can subscribe to Jets Commute,
I share it in the
appreciate
Jumbotron.
it. And
It'll show up in a second.
thanks.
Yeah. So earlier I was gonna pull up a quick little stat. Well, not stat, but just history that I found going across all of the Jets offensive coordinators through their history. Nathaniel Hackett, Mike LaFleur, Dow Loggins, Jeremy Bates, John Morton, Chan Gailey, Marty Morningwig, Tony Sperano, Brian Schottenheimer.
You almost did Soprano.
Soprano, I did, yeah.
I heard that. By the way, rest in peace to Tony Soprano and Tony Sperano.
We got Brian Schottenheimer and Mike Heimerdinger. And Paul Hackett. I mean, out of those, 10 guys that I just mentioned, 3 of them had decent offenses with the New York Jets. One of them was that 2015-16 season with Gailey, with a team full of veterans We was Chris Ivory in the backfield, Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker on the outside. We had the semi-veteran offensive line, and we also had Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Did we lose him?
Yeah,
Can you guys hear me?
you're back.
Did you have a call, Viz?
Oh no, I didn't have a call. I stepped away from the page. But yeah, I'm looking at it. Was all veterans on that team. Ryan Fitzpatrick played out of his ass that year. It was his best statistical year as a quarterback. Then going back, I think you had Chan Gailey, who was good under who the heck was Chan Gailey under? Was he under Parcells?
No, Chan Gailey was under Bowles.
No, that was Charlie Weiss that was under Parcells. And then you had Chan Gailey, who
Oh yeah.
under Mangini. And then Schottenheimer had a couple good years. Whether it's defensive or offensive head coaches, the best teams that we've had have been with coaches that, even with the stars, they'll chew your ass out to make you better. With the whole Saleh thing, no, Saleh's not the problem. But as the head coach, you take the fall for everything going on the team. I thought that he should have been fired in the offseason. I thought that you could have made a change with the offensive coordinator as well. And it's just tough because
Viz, can I ask you one quick question, and you can keep going? Just do you think Saleh should have been gone first during the year, or Hackett? Just hindsight 2020.
Hindsight 2020. I think Saleh should have been gone
during the year, because you already wanted him out in the offseason. I get it.
Well, yeah, but I always think. I've had problems with Saleh even before Hackett had been here, and this goes back. If you look at exactly, if you look at what happened with Saleh his opening year, we can all relive this together. We lost a game against Carolina where we came out, we started slow. But in the second half, we saw Zach Wilson take some leaps and bounds, throw 2 touchdowns to Corey Davis, and we saw, hey, maybe the kid's going to do something the following week. Then his first 3 passes are interceptions against the Patriots the next week. We get dog walked by Mac Jones, and we say, oh shit, same old Jets. Then the following week, I think that's week 3 when we beat the Titans, and we said, oh my God, this kid has a little magic in him. And Saleh comes out of the press conference and said, he on the sideline, he's screaming, don't throw it, don't throw it, don't throw it. And then obviously he lets it loose to Corey Davis for that touchdown. And he's celebrating and said, well, we don't want him to use that superpower. We don't want him to throw it downfield. That is his superpower, but we want him to play within the offense. There's something you saw from a Mangini, a Rex team, Parcells team, a Belichick team. Anytime that they were within the 40s, they took a deep shot. First down, either it was a play to pick up 6 or 7 yards to make it a manageable 2nd and 3, 2nd and 4, and then they'd take a deep shot towards the end zone. That's the best place in the field to do it in football. You see all the good teams do it. Saleh never does it. It's the coach's philosophy, which I thought was the thing that was most wrong with this team. If he's game planning, which is what he does with his coordinators, he needs to game plan and say, guys, in these parts of the field, we need to take shots. In these parts of the field, we need to be aggressive on offense and defense. And you never saw that identity being formed with what we were going to do in certain parts of the field, what we were going to try to do. You never even saw it really on defense. Sure, we're going to drop and pick cover 3. I mean, we saw one strategic blitz that the day that we knocked out the Dolphins' backup quarterback. There's just so much wrong with how I thought this team was coached, is not maximizing talent. And for everybody say that Saleh's this great defensive mind and look at the player development on defense. We've all seen the One Jets Drive and the Hard Knocks episodes and every little clip that they put out. When is Saleh ever talking to a positional group? When is Saleh ever talking to an individual player unless he's patting him on the butt, telling him you did a good job? The positional coaches are we don't. The positional coaches are yeah, but listen, the positional coaches are the guys that coach these guys. The positional coaches, I mean, they laud Tony Oden for being a great defensive backs coach. And you're the wide receivers coach that was featured on One Jets Drive this year. I don't know his name, but he's the
Sean
guy
Jefferson.
Sean Jefferson's running routes with these guys, telling them this is where you need to break in. This is the step you need to take. You need to tuck your shoulder here. You need to do this. You need to bend here. They're the ones that are fine tuning and developing those talents. Saleh is meeting with those guys for philosophy changes. He's meeting with his coaches. He is not sitting down, going through every rep one by one with those players, individually making them a better
That's not
player.
his. This is
It
where
is
the
a
fire people lose me.
but that's it. It's not his job to make those players better. It is his job to command philosophy from the team. But everybody says, Mark, and this was the argument, look at how good the defense got. Look at the player development on defense. Saleh made the linebackers better. Saleh made the defensive line better.
Is
Saleh
Saleh an
didn't
offensive
coach
or
those
defensive
guys
minded head
individually.
coach?
That's a rhetorical question. You know that answer, Mark. I know that
I
answer.
ask these questions because I'm trying to illustrate the truth. Did Saleh pop out of a bubble, or did he have a tremendous track record as a defensive mind in the league with more than one football team?
He had a tremendous track record as a defensive mind in the league.
Do you
There's no
remember? Do
disputing
you
that.
remember when Jeff
But
Ulbrich?
Mark, he could go over there, Mark.
Do
He can
you
go over and
but
Do you
talk to people in
remember?
my
Hold on.
eyes.
Do you remember when Jeff Ulbrich took to the podium and said, "Listen, our rotation for the line, we want to have guys really like a 30% snap count is perfect." And then Saleh went to the podium and cleaned it up. For Ulbrich, do you guys remember that presser?
Yeah, but do you also remember that that's a Saleh initiated mandate? And he said, no, I think what he meant,
Where
he's
do we
like,
have that?
we really want to do this. Because, Mark, if the head coach says, hey, we want these guys to be, quote unquote, all gas and give it all they have at every moment, well, they can't necessarily do it. And Saleh even said, with the philosophy that we play, we are highly aggressive. We want these guys to use all of their energy on the plays that they're on the field. So this is the amount that we'd like to have them there. And it's going to work out to around the same
So
amount.
wait,
And he
so
went
does
more
Saleh know
in
what he's
depth
talking
than
about
just
on
saying
defense, or
60.
doesn't he?
I think he does know what he's talking about on defense. What does that have to do with anything?
Because you're saying he's not doing anything. He's not talking to players. He's not doing like. I'm sorry, we
No,
can't have it both
Mark,
ways with this coach and his defensive acumen.
Mark, what I'm saying is that everybody applauding him for his player development is completely throwing out the positional coaches that work with those players every day. It's not on all the good stuff that happened with the Jets and all the bad stuff that happened with the Jets isn't all. Saleh has his hand in absolutely everything, but with coaches and player development,
The
when you're
dog's here
talking
in
about
bed, Jeff is.
how the defense plays, when you're talking about how the offense plays, what their strategy is going into the game, that is something that the head coach takes complete ownership of. When he goes out there and meets with those guys to game plan, he says, this is what we need to attack. This is how we're going to do it.
But Viz,
I
Mark, can I
saw
comment on
no.
that, Mark? But Viz, to be fair, and I'm going to take a clip out of One Jets Drive, whatever, and then the guest should be in. To be fair, when Saleh was meeting with Joe Douglas, when he was talking about Sauce and him and DJ Reed would change the entirety of the defense, where was the positional coaches? I'm
But
just
that's what I'm
asking.
talking about. That's the philosophy and that's the scheme behind it.
Yeah, but he should, in my opinion.
That's what Saleh and that's what the head coach has a plan in.
Yeah,
You even
but
heard from
Biz, he
Saleh when
should.
he
But
for
did you
well,
see what Dable did this weekend? He went on the sideline. He started talking to people. Saleh never did that, and I get it.
I
People
would
have.
love it if he did.
Yeah, I
He
just
never
don't
did.
see why. I don't think he was patting Clemens on the back. He's like, don't do that. I saw him saying when Clemens got away with another fucking penalty. By the way, excuse my language. Sorry if there's. I apologize.
Oh yeah, the late
I
hit luckily didn't get
Yeah,
called.
I don't see that Saleh was saying, "Oh, good job." He's like, "Don't do that." He was saying, "Don't
Yeah.
do that." He grabbed him by. He wasn't. Should he have probably yelled? Maybe, yeah. But he was saying, "Don't do that." So he did hold him accountable. But I don't think Saleh did enough. I don't.
You
Oh,
know,
go ahead.
there was Jimmy Johnson had an old quote back when Emmitt Smith was in the room, and they had a backup running back that came in late to a meeting, and Johnson told him to go home, and I think they fined him for the day. And Troy Aikman said, "What if that was Emmett that walked in here late? What would you do?" He said, "I'd do the same thing because everybody's held to the same standard." And that's something that I fear wouldn't have happened. Like we're talking about holding Rodgers accountable. I don't think that would have happened with
I've heard
Saleh.
different, but
Yeah.
Viz, I've heard different stories about that. I've heard when Lawrence Taylor used to, walk into team meetings, he would take naps, and people wouldn't care if he was late or early or whatever. So I think what you saw with Clemens hitting that guy late was a coach. You saw in real time a coach who was conflicted about how to handle it. You actually saw the expressions on his face in real time. Like he wanted to discipline him. He realized the game was coming to an end. He
Yep.
ultimately quickly decided in real time that he was going to probably deal with it afterwards, and that he might have needed the player for I don't know, one more drive but I think he recognized that it was definitely a mistake. But I think you just saw a guy who was conflicted about how to handle it in that particular moment at the end of the game.
Yep. Hey guys, let me
That's
get to
that's one thing.
Viz. Let
Yeah,
me
I'm
get.
sorry.
I got the guest up here. Nate Geary joins us from that covers the Bills. Nate, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. Nate, I'm gonna pull my inner old school. What up, Nate Dogg? Nate Dogg, the great Nate Dogg. Hey Nate, can you take that co-host spot? Because I need to add some speakers. Just hit the blue button if you don't mind. In case, there you
Should
go.
work now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Nate. So again, that this is your third time coming on. I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining.
Of
It's
course.
Jets Bills week. Obviously, the Jets are reeling. Nate, I have to be honest. I don't agree with some of the stuff you tweet out, but it's all good. It's all respect here. I know the Jets and Bills are reeling. It's two different categories, but give me your thoughts real quick on the Jets and if they have any shot this week coming in.
I mean, I would think they definitely have a shot. It looks like the Bills could be without their top receiver, Curtis Samuel, who really hasn't done much of anything, but can at least replace the reps that you're losing from Khalil Shakir. And it looks like the Bills could be without James Cook, who has been really their only good, consistent offensive player outside of Khalil Shakir. So, yeah, it's, just like it feels like the last couple of seasons, the Bills are dealing with a lot of early season injuries. This time on the offensive side, last year it was Milano and DaQuan Jones and Poyer and Hyde. And this year it's on the offensive side. So coming off of, what I think is probably the worst offensive performance in terms of throwing the football in Josh Allen's career, they're going to be faced with, another really difficult task, who I think is the top ranked passing defense in the league in the Jets. They just fired their head coach. Typically there's at least a little bit of, juiced following a head coaching fire. But Josh Allen's never lost 3 games in a row in his career, so something's got to give here, guys. I definitely would be giving this a 50-50 shot at the very best for the Bills, frankly. So the Bills are in a tough spot. Jets are reeling, and right now, first place in the division, still very early in the season, but up for grabs. It's a big game.
Wow, I
I
did
got
not know
a
that
quick
stuff.
question before I run into work. So, and this is Bills related, Jets Bills related. I wanted to move on. So yeah, like over the past few years, the Jets and Bills, at least in the game at MetLife, have matched up pretty darn closely. I don't know if it's because Josh Allen doesn't like all the color green in the stands or what it is, but he's had some of his worst career games there. Now with like the lack of weapons that he has versus on the outside versus DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner, like you said, the number one. You wonder how the Bills are going to attack, and I don't necessarily know that. And then also, it's going to be a real interesting game to watch. Like you said, Josh has never lost 3 in a row, and coming in with a new team, you wonder how much new philosophy, new ideas can be implemented, and how much the Jets' game plan is going to differ from anything that they've seen early on in the season, and what the game plan might be like for, like if you're the Bills coaching staff, what are you really game planning for? It's probably 80% stuff you've seen all season, but but how do you plan for the unforeseen changes that Jeff Ulbrich will bring?
I'm not sure I would, if I were the Bills or myself, expect the Jets to do a lot of things differently than they've done all year, at least defensively. I think in large part because maybe the only thing that the Jets might be worried about that they haven't necessarily been worried about in a couple of these matchups early this season defensively is Josh Allen's ability to run, and they might have to rely more on Josh Allen, the runner. So if that's the case, I could suspect that the Jets decide to really play one high safety looks against the Bills. And that could be the bigger difference philosophy wise that you could see the Jets deploy, because if you can just throw one safety back there, load the box, and the Bills can't throw the football deep or really get you out of a one high safety look, that means they're going to struggle running the football as well because they're not getting running, they're not getting ideal running looks with guys in the box. That could be a really difficult problem for the Bills right now. And, I think largely Keon Coleman has been coming along, probably at the pace I thought that he would. He's going to be asked to do a lot more this week, and he's going to be asked to probably be matched up against Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, which is a real welcome to the NFL rookie moment for him, because at least prior at the start of the season, when all else is, when everything else is healthy, that's a matchup Shakir's getting. That's a matchup that Curtis Samuel's getting, and maybe you can work with and try to get Keon Coleman some better matchups. But it's going to be a really difficult game philosophically wise, because I just think that the Jets can do a lot of things, but I don't think they necessarily have to. I think that if they went out there and did exactly what they've been doing all season, which is, shut teams down through the air, make it very difficult to move the ball and sustain drives. That's what the Bills are struggling with right now. They're struggling with sustaining drives in execution. Last week, their biggest issues weren't necessarily Joe Brady's play calling or even Josh Allen being inaccurate. He wasn't getting guys separating with regularity. There are some play calls that I didn't think worked against man coverage particularly well. They're relying too much on guys like Matt Collins and MVS, which is a concern and was a concern coming into this season. And frankly, they just didn't execute. They were not executing plays, whether it was communicating the rushers that were coming up front. There was free rushers coming at Josh Allen. They weren't getting clean blocks on some of their screen plays, so their screen plays were getting blown up. It really came down to last week. The Bills should have beat the Texans, but the Bills beat themselves. So the Bills seriously cannot afford. They have to basically play a perfect game this coming week, I think, to beat a Jets team that I still think has got the talent. The question is, can they put it together?
Nate, before I get to Mark in the hands, if I would have told you that the Jets are missing C.J. Mosley, Jermaine Johnson, Hassan Reddick's not playing, and the Jets were ranked second in defense, would you be shocked?
No. I like CJ Mosley. He's an older player. He's not the type of linebacker that is, I think, to me, making dramatic changes in coverage. I think he's more of a downhill, especially at this point in his career. Jermaine Johnson's a nice player. But I think largely this is a team that is really built around three players, in my opinion, right? It's Quinnen Williams in the middle, and your two boundary corners. And Michael Carter I like a lot too, as a slot corner. So this is a team that can generate pressure up the middle. And I think they've proven over the last couple of years, it kind of doesn't matter who they put on the outside of Quinnen Williams. Offensive lines have to focus their attention on him, and it leaves opportunities on the edges for players. So no, I'm not overly surprised. I think Robert Saleh largely is the defense isn't the problem. It has not been the problem in New York. There has been a consistent issue with the New York Jets, and it's been the offensive side of the ball that an average quarterback was supposed to fix, and it hasn't happened so far. And, Saleh gets the axe, but I'm not surprised at all that their defense is, still one of the best in the league now.
Fair enough. Let me get to CB. Nate, thanks for joining. Always a pleasure, you coming on the space. With all due respect, you've given me a lot of your time, and it's well appreciated.
No worries, buddy.
Thank
you.
All right. Go ahead, June. I got you, June. Go ahead, CB, and then June. Go ahead. CB, you there? Or you dropped? June, you got something for the guests?
Not yet. Not
All
yet.
right.
Not yet. Gary, continue.
All right, Hexagon, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Petey. Thank you for taking my question. So I'm a little concerned with Rodgers the last couple of weeks as far as the beatings that he has taken. He's taken a lot of hits. Are you concerned with Allen in the fact that he's taken a couple of big hits in the last couple of weeks himself? Um, and then you mentioned the fact that he might have to run more this week. Um, are you concerned at all about that? Because I think that the Jets need to run the ball more, and I think that if the Jets have any weakness on defense, it's the fact that you can run on that defense sometimes, right? So I think both teams need to run the ball, but you're saying that Cook is out and that Allen has to run a little bit more. Are you concerned about Allen's health?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, and right now, Cook did not practice yesterday. It looks like a toe injury. I saw somebody post a replay of when their injury happened on the second to last drive on a play that looked like it actually was a catch that was ruled incomplete. That could have been a big game changer in that game as well. But yeah, I mean, Josh Allen takes that hit last week, and now there's controversy around, was it a concussion? Was he knocked out? Was it a chest injury? Whatever. Um, yeah, I mean, listen, the Bills have a good offensive line. I think the last 2 weeks, the struggles up front have been more about communication and teams doing a good job disguising and simulating pressure looks that have confused the offensive line and Josh Allen and trying to get those protected. So there's been some free rushers. But I'm not worried about fundamentally like, hey, do the Bills have an offensive line problem? Are they going to be able to protect Josh Allen? I think they played last week probably one of the best defensive lines from an edge rush perspective in the league. I mean, Danielle Hunter, perennial, all pro type player, just absolute physical specimen. And then Will Anderson on the other side, obviously top 5 pick 2 years ago. So yeah, I mean that was a difficult matchup for the Bills, and I think the week before that, losing and kind of dealing with a similar issue on the defensive line against the Ravens, who don't maybe have that big name, but do a great job in disguising. Here's what I think in terms of Josh Allen, and I'll get to Aaron Rodgers in a second here. Josh Allen is the kind of guy that I think everybody in this chat, if you've watched him, kind of tries to do too much when his team is down or when there's injuries or he puts on the cape, right? And last week he goes 9 for 30 and the cape never really went on. He's got 0 interceptions this year. I mean, I don't think anyone's really talking about that because the Bills offense has been sputtering the last couple of weeks. But he's not turning the ball over like he typically does. He almost had an interception, probably should have been an interception last week. But yeah, like, I think that they may have to ask more, maybe some designed runs, maybe some RPO, which they have not really done a lot of, which was a staple of Ken Dorsey's offense last year, which was like RPOs and receivers coming back to the ball. Philosophically, the biggest difference this year, guys, is that the Bills aren't relying on those option routes. That was his staple with Stephon Diggs, right? Like, hey, let's get him one-on-one and we'll let him use his leverage and Josh Allen's, familiarity with his game and how where he likes to get open, what coverage, will base kind of where he goes. The Bills are not running those. They're far more deliberate. They're running more timing routes, more anticipation routes, which is the evolution of where this offense needed to go. But it's tough when you're not getting separation, especially against man coverage. Now teams are just running man out there. It'll be interesting to see if the Jets decide to run more man coverage against this Bills teams. But in terms of Aaron Rodgers, yeah, listen, like, I think after the Titans win, or maybe it was after, I forget the other, maybe it was the New England game, there was a lot of talk on Twitter about how good this Jets offensive line is. And I still came into the season very skeptical about the offensive line as a whole in New York. And I think they started to face better pass rushers the last 2 weeks, and they've really folded. And this is a conundrum, I think, Jets fans and the Jets in large, and maybe this change in head coach moves this more dramatically, which is Braylon Allen deserves to be out there. He's more physical. He hits the hole, and with this offensive line, you need north-south players. And some of the struggles I've seen from Brees Hall, and I think in terms of starting running backs, one of the bottom five in expected yards, just has not been. And this was his problem last year. It's why I think Saleh called him out towards the end of last season about being more physical, getting north-south quicker. And you're right. I mean, these are two defenses that I think are built from the same sort of concept, which is we're built for the 21st century offense. We're going to stop the pass. You can run on us. Your defense is probably going to give up some yards on the ground. The Bills' defense is going to give up some yards on the ground. They don't really care. What they're not going to let you do is beat you over the top. And the Bills got beat over the top last week because they're playing a rookie safety for maybe the first time I can remember really getting beat over the top. But these are two defenses that just don't do that.
June, you ready yet for a question or before CV?
I just got a real quick question. Thanks for being here, Nate. We appreciate you, brother.
Of course, June.
In your opinion, and this may seem like it's random and out of the way, but in your opinion, who's the second best quarterback in the NFL?
I still think it's Josh Allen. I think when all else is equal, I am not the biggest Joe Burrow fan. I think Joe Burrow, you watch any of the highlights last week. I mean, he's out there. Joe Burrow can make every throw. But if I was starting an NFL team today, Joe Burrow is a little bit further down my list just because he can't move. And I think he's really reliant on having two very good, one maybe top 3, top 4 receiver in the NFL, and he takes more sacks than anybody in the NFL. Lamar Jackson, I think now what you're seeing is I wasn't exactly sure what the marriage of Derrick Henry and that offense would look like. Early, it did not look good. In Tennessee, towards the end of last season, they were more efficient when Tajay Spears was on the field. And I thought that early in the season, in the couple of losses that the Ravens took early, is you could tell when Derrick Henry was on the field, they were trying to run the football. When he came off, you knew they were throwing. They were cueing. I think they were very easy to read. I think they've gotten better at that. They've gotten Derrick Henry involved in the pass game, I think, a little bit more than Tennessee has historically. But Lamar Jackson is probably the third quarterback for me. I still take Allen over Jackson when all is equal and, he has healthy pass catchers, because I just think the arm strength, the ability to throw the football with nuance, he's still a better overall player than Lamar, but I think it's very close. And that's kind of, for me, Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson are kind of my consensus top 3, and Burrow and some of these other guys kind of falling right behind there.
And last thing, if let's just say Josh Allen continues, to be on this path that he has for the last 2 games, is it safe to say that the wide receiver by committee thing is a failure?
It's an interesting question. I do think it's tough to make proclamations. I know, like with when there's still leaves on the trees, right? I feel like it's still probably too early to fully invest in a narrative like that. But listen, I didn't agree with this idea coming into the season. And knowing what I know now, that they've been unable to get Curtis Samuel going, that to me is the most perplexing part of the struggles. Is the only guy that has maximized Curtis Samuel's output has been Joe Brady, who's the Bills' offensive coordinator. He has basically been what fans have complained about the last couple of years. He's been Deontay Hardy, who they signed last year and basically was a punt returner and playing 15% of the snaps. The couple years before that, Isaiah McKenzie, another player, kind of a gadget player, running the orbit motions and taking jet sweeps, and then would have that 150-yard game every year. And you're like, where's this been all season? It has been utterly perplexing, especially last week. As a bettor, right? I love betting on sports. I love betting on the Bills in these games. I'm like, man, give me whatever, Curtis Samuel's prop is. His prop was like 25 and a half yards, 24 and a half yards last year. I'm like, oh my God, this is an easy hammer. There's no Khalil Shakir. They're going to see a lot of man coverage against this Houston defense. Like, Curtis Samuel's going to get fed. And it wasn't the case. I just, I don't know why they're not utilizing him the way that they should. It's confusing. The only guy that's really consistently been there is Khalil Shakir, which I think I came on this thing in, August or last time I came on this spaces. And that's what I said. I said, like, Khalil Shakir is going to be the guy in this offense. Dalton Kincaid has not really elevated and really fit into this offense. But in fairness, there isn't a tight end across the league right now, other than like Brock Powers, that is doing much. I'm not sure what's going on across the league. I mean, we have so many of these young tight ends that everyone was really expecting to pop off, maybe led by Kincaid. It just has not happened. So when I tell you it's a failure, June, I certainly wouldn't say it's a success. But I'm not exactly ready to close the casket quite yet. But I can't also tell you in the same breath that I think the Bills should be all in on going in to get a Devontae Adams or Amari Cooper, and then look you in the eye and tell you I think it's a great success or it's not a failure. So is it a complete and utter failure? No, but we're approaching it, and I think they really need to make a move as soon as possible to try to solidify and fortify this group that I think is pretty underwhelming.
Thanks a lot, Nate. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, June. Good questions. Nate, is it fair to say, by the way, guys, you listening to Nate Geary, tuning in, guys, if you're on YouTube or on YouTube Live, please subscribe to Jets Commute on YouTube. Nate, thanks again for joining. Nate, would you consider, I've been asking Bills fans, I interact with them, but guys, do you think if the Bills lose this week, it should be complete panic city or no?
No, just because I think they're still going to get healthy. I mean, the Von Miller suspension's tough. He's one of their most productive pass rushers this season so far, surprisingly. They're going to get Milano back. They're going to get Taylor Rapp back this week. They should get Shakir back, if not this week, next week. Hopefully James Cook is back. Then you get Samuel back. Their schedule gets lighter over the next couple of weeks as well. Seattle is I think, very up and down team, but very beatable. Tennessee's coming up on the schedule. They've got some in Miami again. They've got some winnable games. They could, if they lose this, they could in 4 weeks' time be 6-3 again and be right there. But it certainly would dismantle a lot of the excitement, the goodwill that was built up through the first 3 games. And listen, I think the Dolphins, I think the division is much weaker than all of us suspected, right? The Patriots are probably exactly who we thought they were. They put up a good fight against the Dolphins last week. The Dolphins are way worse than we thought. Obviously, the Tua injury is huge, but they weren't good with Tua in. They were getting blown out with Tua in the game. And I thought that, and I said this in the last space we said, guys, I thought that the Jets would be the second best team in this division. I thought that no one was talking about the Dolphins and how much they lost, and how much older they're getting. And, I like Mike McDaniel, but he's a one-trick pony. So I think for me, part of the reason I'm not going to panic is I don't think the division's particularly good. I still think the Jets are a deeply flawed team. And they could get Devontae Adams, but Devontae Adams, I genuinely do not think fixes the problems that they have philosophically, offensively. I think a lot of the offense stem from a lot of the issues on offense for the Jets stem from Nate Hackett. I said that earlier too. I think he's the worst offensive coordinator in football. And he's insulated by a quarterback that really likes him personally. I think that the Jets don't really know how to use Garrett Wilson. Maybe Garrett Wilson's not a top 5 guy and he's more of a top 10 guy. And what, is that grasping at straws? What's the difference, Nate? There is a difference. I think there's a difference between Jamar Chase and Garrett Wilson. And I'm not sure, I know Jets fans would have came into the season thinking those guys are pretty close. I thought those guys were pretty close coming into the season. I don't think that maybe Garrett Wilson is at that level. And because of that, you're seeing, Alan Lazard and the relationship that he has already established with Aaron Rodgers sort of get bypassed. Now, last week was a good week for Garrett Wilson. Finally gets featured in the offense. Will they do it again? And will they play the right running back? These are all questions that I think this week we'll have more answers to. But I think, like, I look at this Jets offense and I think to myself, hey, they could put up a game this week. We could be tied, or you guys have the lead because, you got the tiebreaker in hand. But can Rodgers even hold up for 17 games? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mark, are you ready to ask yet? Can you go?
Yeah, yeah, Pete.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, Pete. Nate, thank you again for being gracious with your time this
Sure
morning,
thing,
man.
Mark.
Really appreciate you. I'm not sure if folks have asked this yet, but I'm curious about Josh Allen zone versus man coverage. Like, how
Mhm.
has he looked? I feel like in man coverage, he's seeing the field. And again, I don't watch as much Bills football as you guys do, but like, I feel like in man coverage, he's seeing the field a bit better. I'm seeing like receivers, outrun coverage. And so he's hitting guys in stride and then they're taking off and doing things versus zone. I wonder with a receiver core he hasn't really I don't want to say underperforming, but like I wonder if he's not performing as well against zone versus man. I'm curious your perspective.
So week 3, that Jacksonville game, they ran. I mean, going into that game, into week 3, Jacksonville was running man coverage at like 61% of their defensive snaps, which led the league going into that game. They had an early injury to, I think, one of their slot corners, and they were already undermanned. And the Bills just absolutely torched them. I mean, could not keep up with Shakir. They were getting James Cook out of the backfield, really involved in the passing game. And they just largely could not keep up. It was a very different story the following 2 weeks against Baltimore, who ran a lot of man coverage. Here's what I'll tell you is right now the Bills really want to operate over the middle of the field. The last 2 weeks, the Texans and the Ravens have said, we're not going to give you the middle of the field. Beat us on the boundary. And the Bills do not have a boundary receiver right now. I think that's what the Jets are going to do. The Jets are going to say, we're turning the middle of this field off. We're going to run some Tampa 2 against you. We're going to run some cover 1 with, a robber underneath and try to beat us to the boundary. And they just don't have separators out there right now. And I think that's a huge issue for the Bills that they don't have an in-house solution for right now. And even if Khalil Shakir's in the lineup, he does his best operations over the middle of the field. There's some boundary stuff he can do, but he's an over the middle, can beat man coverage with the best of them in the league. But zone coverage, teams are the last 2 weeks, we have not seen a lot of zone coverage because of this. So do I think the Bills are better built to beat man coverage in the long run? I do, because I think you're playing with fire if you're turning your defensive backs around and running with these guys with Josh Allen at quarterback. He's such a weapon running the football, but he hurt his hand in week 2 or week 1 at week 1. And he has not been running the football as much. He's not been putting himself in harm's way with that hand injury. So we haven't seen him necessarily torch defenses with his legs when they're turning around in coverage. But I think that I don't have a big enough sample size over the last couple of weeks to tell you that they're struggling on zone, because I think teams are just running man and saying, we don't think your guys can separate quick enough. They can't. And if they're running 5-man pressures, and Josh Allen's got to get the ball out quick, guys are not separating early enough. And that's their problem right now. So I would tell you, man coverage right now, early in the season, it looked like the Bills were going to force teams out of man, and some injuries happened and teams took away access to the middle of the field. And here we are.
Let me pivot to the Bills rush defense. The Jets have been horrible running the football since Morgan Moses is out. I think their backfield's averaging less than 2 yards a carry.
That'll
Is this
change
a situation?
This week, Mark. That'll change this week.
Yeah, there's my question. Like, is this a situation of bad on bad? Like, how has the Bills' rush defense looked over these weeks?
Well, I'll tell you, last week's a bad example. Texans just don't. Cam Akers and they didn't really have a running attack the Bills were particularly afraid of, and because of that, CJ Stroud, man, is he a darn good player. I probably put him. June asked that question earlier. Who's my top 2? CJ Stroud might be number 4 for me. That kid is going to be very special, and he's got the weapons. We'll see if he can do it without Nico, though. That'll be interesting to see. This Bills defense without Taron Johnson, without Terrell Bernard, without Matt Milano, it's tough. It's tough going. And last week they had no Ed Oliver, they had no Austin Johnson. I mean, they're just in the middle right now. They're not healthy. I don't know if Ed Oliver is going to play. The Bills are very conservative with soft tissue injuries. He hurt his hamstring last Thursday, so a week ago in practice, did not play last week. We saw Dwayne Carter, the Bills' third-round pick from Duke. Boy, did he flash. He might have been the Bills' best player last week playing the three-tech. He was blowing up. Now, the Houston interior offensive line is probably the weak point of that O-line, but man, did he pop on film. Very excited about what I saw from him. And Terrell Bernard comes back, and holy cow. I mean, listen, Bale Inspector did a good job. He's the Bills' fourth linebacker. He was filling in for Terrell Bernard when he went down with injury in that Miami game for a couple weeks. Filled in fine. But man, is it such a game changer when Bernard's in there. Bernard's this defensive leader, and I love Milano. Bernard's the dog in this defense. Even when Milano's back, he's the dude. He's young. He's only in his second full season starting. He comes in, he gets that big fourth down stop, the huge interception, which is I implore any Jets fan to see the replay of the interception that CJ Stroud threw last week to Terrell Bernard, because it's one of the most headsy, understanding leverage and what the opponent wants to do. And he passes off, like he turns his back. He looks like he's going with the drag route and the tight end, immediately sort of pivots and goes right back to the I think it was like the deep in route that was coming behind it to Stephon Diggs, and just makes an unbelievable play. He's so good. And the other guy right now, Dorian Williams, I've been very surprised with. He's the guy that is filling in right now for Matt Milani, who's a rookie last year, third-round pick out of Tulane. Is got all the intangibles, fast, physical. He's a specimen. But last year he was like a sugar high kid who just didn't know where to be and was just running to the ball. He is far more read and react now. And together they've actually made last week, they look like a very formidable duo. But if the Bills are going to be without Austin Johnson again, who's their really big, solid backup one tech, that means they're going to be running small in the middle. Like I said, the Bills have struggled since Sean McDermott's been here with run gap integrity, which sounds like something you would learn in Pee Wee football, but that's what they got gashed on against the Ravens. And I think something you guys could take advantage of this week. Run that extra offensive lineman out there without Taron Johnson. Taron Johnson, to me, as good as he is in coverage and is a great slot corner in the NFL. He, to me, is the best run stopping. He's essentially a third linebacker in the body of a slot corner, of a nickel corner. And without him in the lineup, they miss that physicality because now you've seen the Bills go with three linebackers more than they ever have. They had to against the Ravens because they just don't have that physical presence of Taron Johnson, who can play in the box with the best of them. So, yeah, I think Braylon Allen's got to be your guy this week, guys. He's physical, downhill, and that's who the Bills struggle against.
Nate, will you be in New Jersey this week? Are you going to be at the game?
I will not. I will be here in Buffalo.
Okay.
I do have a bunch of buddies going to this game, though, for sure.
All right. I was going to say I would cook you up some good stuff at the tailgate before you went into the stadium. But Nate, a couple more before I get you out of here. And thanks again.
Pleasure, buddy.
So what is your, do you think Shakir and do you think both of them are going to be out? Do you think Shakir has a better chance? What's the injury status? Because to me, that's a major concern. I mean, if those two guys are out, there's nobody on that team besides, obviously Josh Allen, but Kincaid's the only guy that really worries me. Give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, listen, this was my big concern. As I said, they can get away with this group of receivers if they all stay healthy all season. Unrealistic. I would think if Cook or Shakir has a better chance of playing. Now, I don't know the degree of Cook's toe/foot injury. I think there was some speculation it might be turf toe. I don't know what it is. If it's turf toe, it's a 2-3 week injury. And even then, it's going to be a lingerer for him. That's what Curtis Samuel is currently dealing with, who is also on the injury report, did not practice yesterday. So if they go into this game, no Cook, no Shakir, no Samuel, you're right. It's going to be a doozy. I don't know what they do. But I'll tell you that if any of them have the best chance of playing, it's probably Shakir right now. And I don't know the extent of Samuel's injury. I don't know if he's still nursing this turf toe, and they're just giving him some practice day rest, and he'll be good to go. Shakir's, it's an ankle injury. He's, probably 2 weeks removed, almost 2 weeks removed from that injury. We'll see. I don't know the extent. I don't know if it's like a high ankle, low ankle. But I think even if he plays, he's not 100%, and he's going to need to be close to 100% to be able to create the separation that he's capable of creating. So he's their only separator right now, anyways. So yeah, I'd probably give Shakir the best chance of playing, but we'll see the extent today. I mean, when the injury report comes out today, it'll be interesting to see if Cook practices, and even in a limited basis. But we're going to need to see some progression from Samuel and Cook for me to feel good about what they got weapon-wise going into this game.
Nate, do you recall that hit that Shakir got it in almost in the end zone, that touchdown? I thought he got severely hurt. Was that the ankle injury cause that hit? Do you recall that a couple of games ago? I
Yeah, I
forget
don't.
what team was that again? Was it? It
I, th-
wasn't Baltimore, was it?
I think it was the Ravens game that he got injured. I can't exactly remember the play. I thought it was more so in the middle of the field. He got like caught up after a catch. I want to say he like kind of came back, finished the game, but then it was, kind of a post game swelling and situation with an ankle sprain. He's probably running off adrenaline finishing that game. I don't remember the exact play though. It looked to me like it was a knee injury. Luckily, it was just an ankle though.
Yeah, I thought it was that, thankfully, because I cringed. I'm like, oh man. Nate, so with that being said, what do you think the key is for the Bills to beat the Jets? Because I think this has 16-13 written all over it, this game, either way.
I think that the Bills will probably have to do a little bit of what Minnesota did, which is they're going to have to get turnovers. The Bills have been very good. The Bills are not turning the football over. Josh Allen's not turning the football over. He's got 2 fumbles this year, no interceptions. And the defense is doing a good job of getting turnovers. They got 2 last week in huge situations against the Houston Texans. The Bills are going to be a bend but don't break. They're going to let you run between the 20s. They're going to try to gum stuff up inside the red zone and make Rodgers hit those small window throws. I think that if the Bills have a game plan this week and they can figure out a way to run the football with Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, who has actually been very good for the Bills. I think Ty Johnson will probably be the feature back if Cook doesn't go. He's a little bit more like Cook. They've relied on him in the pass game quite a bit and has been a great on third down. So I see them using Ty Johnson quite a bit, even if Cook plays but isn't 100%. Expect to see more of him. They got to be able to run the football. They have to execute. And they need to get Dalton Kincaid going. This has to be a game that he goes for like 8 for 95. It just has to be. And they've got to figure out ways to get him the ball other than just snapping the ball and throwing it to him at the line of scrimmage and asking him to create after the catch. That's fine to do once or twice, but they just missed on a deep shot, which would have been a touchdown. The Houston Texans linebacker made a great play tipping the ball over the middle of the field. It was the first time we really saw them try to go vertically with Dalton Kincaid, and it was a near touchdown. I suspect that if the Bills are going to try to take the top off this defense, that it'll be with Dalton Kincaid, who can get down the field for sure. The Bills need to find a way to create 2-3 explosive plays in this game. Josh Allen's got to not turn the football over, which he's been doing a good job at doing. Establish the run, and I think pray that you see the same version of Aaron Rodgers you've seen over the last couple of weeks, which is hardly a step up from Zach Wilson.
So Nate, that's funny you said that, because I was the one, Nate, and I'll say this, if we get competent quarterback play, we're going to win. And Aaron Rodgers threw 3 interceptions last week. I never thought I would see that. So, Nate, with just the point that you made before, the whole fact, if you were the Jets, would you put like a Sauce or DJ Reed to try and, minimize Kincaid? Because to me, if Shakir's not playing, I mean, nobody scares me on the team besides Kincaid. So what would you do I know you cover the Bills, but just give me your thoughts as an outsider.
I genuinely believe there's no reason for the Jets to change who they are. If you're the Jets, you change because you're facing the Bengals and they've got Chase and Higgins and you're scared shitless of guys of what they could potentially do. You change your game plan if you're facing Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, right? I don't think you change your game plan against this group of weapons right now. I think if you're the Jets, I think the only thing you're going to change is you bring the safety down in the box, force the Bills to throw, and I think you feel like you've got an advantage one-on-one on the outside, and leave. I would say if your main concern is Dalton Kincaid, bracket him. Have a slot. Make sure you get hands on him at the line of scrimmage, pass him off to your linebackers, and let the game. And if you have to change on the fly, change on the fly. But if I'm them, I'm running one high. This should be the game of the year for the Jets, where they run more one high safety looks than they have all year. If that's going to be the change, I think that's the change you see from the Jets.
Nate, I'll get you out of here. Thanks again. We should have you on again for Bills Week in a couple weeks up there, but appreciate all your time, man. And thanks for being so gracious and communicating. It means a lot, man.
My pleasure, man. Yeah, and listen, for any Jets fans here, my DMs my DMs are open. So if any of you guys are planning on headed to Buffalo for Bills Jets, let me know. I'll get you guys set up with the best wing spots in Buffalo. So you just shoot me a DM if you're going to be in Buffalo for Bills Jets, and I'll get you up. Make sure I get you taken care of.
Hey Nate, all right, last question.
Yep.
I'll put you on the spot. The final prediction. Did you do a prediction yet?
I haven't, so this will be the first time I do one. I think this game could be I like where your head was, like 16-13. I think I'm going to go off of history that Josh Allen doesn't lose 3 games in a row, that I think if both teams are playing desperately, which I think they are, the Bills are the better coach team. I think they'll figure out a way to win and Josh is good in primetime. I think the Bills will find a way, and it may not be pretty. Josh might have to throw for 130 yards again, but I think the Bills will find a way to win. But it's going to be a dogfight. It could easily go either way. But I'll just pick with the team with the better quarterback and the better coaching. Even though I've got some complaints about Sean McDermott myself, but yeah. I'll be close to it.
Now I want you to stay for a few more minutes. Nate, one more.
Sure, buddy. No worries.
Do you think not Jets or Bills, because I changed my approach, like a couple weeks ago. I honestly believe 9-8 is going to get somebody in the AFC. I do. It's too. I mean, there's teams,
and I think quarterbacks, the names at quarterback in the AFC are so formidable, and yet the Bengals are 1-4. I mean, there is some bad football being played in the AFC, and it's probably if you're a Jets and Bills fan, is there any two more frustrated? I mean, the Bengals are probably frustrated, but in terms of teams that I didn't think the Bengals were going to be a contender. There's got to not be two more frustrated fan bases than Bills and Jets because of how poorly the rest of the AFC is playing. I think if you're a Jets or Bills fan, you thought, man, the Bills and Jets are going to have to win 10, 11 games. And man, it's going to be a dogfight. You're going to be on the road, maybe in the playoffs as a 10-win team. And then all of a sudden we stink. We're not as good as we thought. And neither is the rest of the AFC. And there's this huge opportunity. And you're feeling like neither of these teams is taking advantage of it. We'll see if this plays out the rest of the way of the season. But man, the opportunity is there, and neither team is rising to the occasion, and it's frustrating. Which is why, it's why the Jets fired their head coach, and everybody can say, well, the defense wasn't the problem. Why didn't they fight? Listen, man, he's the CEO. That's what happens when you're not successful. We'll see if it's a move that shakes the Jets a bit. I'm skeptical that it does, but we'll see. I think it was a move that they probably should have made in the offseason, if I'm being honest.
Nate, do you agree with the move? And do you think Hackett should have went first, or both of them? You thought he should have gone in the offseason, obviously, but what? Give me your thoughts real quick. Can you take one more from Whittle after this, and then we'll get you out of here?
Yeah, no worries. Right. Yeah, I can definitely do one more. I think I don't like the move right now for them. I don't think that there was any scenario where Nate Hackett is getting fired. Rodgers runs this team. He runs the organization. There was no way he was signing off on that. And that's not necessarily even a pot shot at Rodgers. If Josh Allen doesn't want Joe Brady gone, Joe Brady's not gone, right? So when you're a franchise quarterback, Rodgers definitely has probably the most power, right up there with Mahomes, as any quarterback in the league in decision making. He wants Hackett around. End of story. So he's not moving. We'll see if Todd Downing maybe takes over his play calling. But even then, Hackett's still going to be a big part of what they're doing philosophically. But the problem here, guys, is, and I tweeted this yesterday, is I thought Robert Saleh is a very respected coach in the league. He's going to go be the defensive coordinator somewhere the first day of the league year next year. The Jets New York's not a great job as it stands, right? It's just not. It's the pressure of the market. They haven't won in a long time. And now you have an owner that you feel is a meddling owner and kind of embarrassed his head coach, somebody that's very respected, by canning him on a Tuesday during a primetime week because, for whatever reason it was, he was embarrassed of his, London buddies that his team lost in London. But, kicking him out of the facility and not letting him speak to the team. And it just is such a bad look for a team that is going to have problems finding a good quality head coach next year as it is. Guys aren't going to want it. The Brian Johnsons of the world, the Bobby Slowicks of the world, they're going to pass on opportunities like that because they're going to want a situation with an established young quarterback and a franchise that's got the respectability and an owner that's not going to meddle. So I think it was a bad move optically. And I don't think Saleh was the problem. So, no, I didn't love the firing now. But listen, it looked inevitable for a while, right?
Fair enough. Whittle, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Nate.
Morning.
Quick question. I'm listening to you speak on the Bills' offense, and the wide receivers. I haven't really heard you say much about Josh Allen and poor decision making, because I think that has to do with a lot of the disappointment where these receivers are concerned. Now, I don't think it's all Josh Allen, but I also would go ahead and give Joe Brady some of the blame for some questionable personnel choices and decisions, and then obviously a few play calls that just didn't make a lot of sense. But ultimately, I do think that these receivers are winning. Like you said, Kincaid's really the only man beater, or really the only separator when Khalil's not there. But Mac Hollins currently leads the team in separation.
Not good.
Well, yeah, Mac Hollins is a wide receiver 4. He should always have been a wide receiver 4. I guess I have a 2-part question.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you like? How much of the failings in the offense recently do you attribute to Josh Allen? And then who do you attribute the personnel decisions, with Mac Hollins and guys like MVS taking snaps away on the outside from Curtis Samuel and Keon Coleman? Like, all of Curtis Samuel's biggest plays have come from him playing on the boundary.
Yeah,
literally all of them.
I agree.
So that's my 2-part question, because I too have issues with Sean McDermott, but I just wanted to know, you're a lot closer, you have more access to the team than the rest of us Buffalo Bills fans. But how much of the offensive struggles recently do you attribute to Josh Allen, and where do you lay the blame, or not the blame, but the decision on who's getting this snap share and target share like that, for the offense right now?
Yeah, so I'll start with the Josh Allen thing. I think the last 2 weeks, Josh has been under siege in the pocket. A lot of that, again, and some of that's Josh's fault. Josh has got to make sure that the offensive line, you hear those Ritas, those Liz's calls pre-snap, right? He's up there trying to shift the offensive line so that they can cover. The problem is this offensive line is losing 4-man rush looks, not just 5-man rush looks, because defenses are doing a good job of simulating pressure, backing off into coverage, and the Bills don't have the line doesn't have a good grasp of who is coming and who's not. So defenses the last 2 weeks have done a good job. I thought Houston mimicked what the Ravens did very well. Secondarily, because of the lack of separation, what you're seeing is a quarterback that his margin for error now is very small. Balls have to be thrown perfectly because they've got trailing defenders right behind them. I don't think the last 2 weeks the Bills have done a good job. They were one of the highest motion teams in the league the first 3 weeks. They haven't been running as much motion because I think they know it's man coverage, but they're not creating separation pre-snap for their guys that can't separate. Like, you should be having Keon Coleman, coming in and getting him a running start on routes. You should have same thing with Matt Collins. These guys that are slower that don't separate, you got to get them moving at the line of scrimmage at the snap of the ball to give them more advantages against defenders who are flat-footed. So to me, that's a Joe Brady problem. Josh, last week, there are screens, right? They get a screenplay that he has to basically dirt because it gets blown up. There's another screenplay where he gets the ball to Curtis Samuel, and immediately the guy beats Dalton Kincaid, who's trying to make a block. You need to make that block for the play to be successful, and boom, it's not. So they are not from soup to nuts, not executing the last 2 weeks on the offensive side of the ball. Some of that's Josh Allen, some of that's Joe Brady, and then the rest is players not playing well enough. I don't think Dalton Kincaid has played well enough. They're putting him in positions I don't love, though. We knew he wasn't a good blocker. That's not his game. He's basically a wide receiver. And they're asking him to be primary blocker on, screenplays, and it's not working. They're getting blown up. So the last 2 weeks, Josh has not been in rhythm. And when he's in rhythm, you see the weeks 2 and week 3, when he was in rhythm and the ball was coming out and guys were creating separation, he was the MVP front runner. The last 2 weeks, they've turned off the middle of the field, told him to go to the boundaries, and they're not creating separation on the boundary. They don't have even to your point, not using Curtis Samuel out there is, I don't know why not. I mean, he's the one guy you feel like, can separate. So we'll see what the adjustments are this week. But yeah, it's the personnel is what it is, Whittle. Like, they don't have no one right now is coming in to save the day. KJ Hamler's not coming in here and, saving the day. Tyrell Shaver's not coming in here saving the day. This is and has been since March the worst, if not the worst, the second worst, probably the 2 worst wide receiving groups in the league are in the division. The Patriots are probably the worst. The Bills are right there. I knew it. The Bills knew it and were fine with it. And now we're seeing the issues surrounding that. So I still can't believe on a long week, the Bills didn't go out and make a move Monday morning for one of these receivers. I don't care who it is. They need a boundary guy. If it's Romeo Dobbs, if it's, Cooper or Adams, they need somebody on the boundary that can open things up for the middle of the field again. Until they have a threat on the boundary, this is how defenses are going to attack them, and they may not have a viable counterpunch without better personnel.
Nate, I don't want to make this argumentative, and I'm gonna. But do you mind if I send you some stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. You got. Okay. Shoot me a DM.
Yep, got you. Thank you.
All right, Whittle. Thanks, Nate. We'll close you out. Thanks again, man. Appreciate it. It's been like I said, sometimes I don't agree with what you say, and you probably don't agree with what I say, but it's been really fun, and you're a class act, man. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure, man. Anytime. Looking forward to Monday night, and we'll talk again soon in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll see you for Bills week. All right, Nate. Have a great day and great weekend, man.
Everybody as well. Thanks, Petey.
You got it. Nate Geary joined us. June, go ahead. I didn't see your hand. Sorry.
No, that was up there by mistake. My bad.
All right, guys. If you have any final thoughts,
yeah, I do. Nate, June, you got a lot of nerve throwing up these hundreds when the Jets have 25 more passing yards than the Bills right now. Like, come on, bro.
What do you mean? I mean, you supposed to have that dynamic offense with as my man Mark said, with the legion of 2s and 3s.
Well,
it just ain't working right. That's all.
I mean, like I said, I'm not going to make it an argument.
And you got Superman.
I'm going to send Nate some stuff because I don't know how much Nate has actually watched after the game.
Doesn't he cover the team?
What does that have to do with him watching?
I mean, I mean, if that's his job and he covers the team, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna take his word over
Oh
yours a
no,
little
that's
bit, man.
fine.
I'm sorry.
Listen, I'm not trying to change your mind. Like I understand you don't.
June, am I allowed to throw up
I,
100 for that comment?
yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Yeah,
Throw up 100
do
for
your
that,
thing.
please.
Yeah, it's our space. It's our space. Of course. Great Bill
Whittle,
space, by the way.
Whittle. To be fair, though, all right, I think I can tell with certain things with Hackett and whatever, but that doesn't mean I would never get a job with the. I get it. You see stuff, but I mean, does that mean because you see stats and everything? Like, what does that actually mean? Like, can you explain?
Absolutely nothing.
Like, seriously, I'm not even being
No,
combative
there you go.
here.
No, absolutely nothing. Doesn't mean anything.
Oh, come on, man.
Bro, he just said we don't have anybody that separates, and Mac Hollins has a higher separation
Bro,
Told
you,
you
percentage
that
but yeah,
before the
all
than
right,
season
but
started.
anybody else on the team. You can watch these games and see Mac Hollins
but
separate.
but but
There
okay.
are
Man,
issues.
All right,
I
June.
asked him
Let me
specifically.
go, June, and
Did
then
he
we'll
have
keep it
any
open
issues
because,
with Josh
and
Allen
then you go.
and play and the way Josh Allen has played? And what did he do? He deflected blame to everybody else but Josh. Like, come on, like if you can't honestly, if you cannot critique the quarterback for missing throws, for
Mm-hmm.
looking for not reading. He said we don't run RPO. I can show you 3 RPOs from Houston in the first quarter that Josh just ignored.
But
So what do you want me to say? Like
all
if
right,
the guy
but
says that we don't run RPO and I can show you film of actual RPOs that
yep.
Josh ignored, what do you want me to say?
Well,
You're going to take
Whittle,
his word because of the
no,
job that he has. So,
no,
I mean,
I'm not. I'm not. But
yeah,
Whittle,
yeah, like you just said, Petey, did you
no,
not just say he covers the team? So just because you see it, I could
no.
show you
June said that.
RPO. I could show you a video of the RPO.
All right.
And he's saying we don't run those.
All
I'm
right, can I make a point to you?
sure it's a space.
Here's my thing, okay? I've been saying this in the off season all the time to you. And if you're telling me that Mac Hollins separates, Whittle, Mac Hollins does not scare anybody. Like, I get what he's
And he
saying.
shouldn't, because
Right,
he should be a wide receiver
but
four. The
right.
fact that they're
So
and that's why I said they're rolling him out. The personnel and the target share and where they have these guys, it baffles me because I don't understand why they're treating Matt Collins like he's a wide receiver one. It doesn't make
but
any
Whittle,
sense.
what other option is there if nobody's
Matt Collins,
performing? Like you gotta try something.
yeah,
Done.
that shit is
It,
crazy
it,
how we
if
even
I like
saying Matt Collins
I
and the
I have
weapon in the same
I
damn sentence.
literally just watched every single Curtis Samuel receiving snap from this year, from week 1 until now. If you put the man on the outside, he has a much better chance of creating separation and being available for the quarterback. If you put him in the slot, he has a much better chance of creating separation and being available for the quarterback, running actual wide receiver routes. The last 2 games, they ran this man on screens all game long. It's silly.
So, so what you're telling me is that you know how to use Matt Collins better
What
than
I'm
Joe
saying
Brady.
is what Joe Brady is doing in certain scenarios with these receivers doesn't make sense. It's not logical and it's not working.
Okay, but Whittle, okay, let's go back a little bit here, and this is friendly banter. But you're the same person that said, "Oh, ever since the Bills made the change with Brady, oh, we're
Thank you.
unstoppable.
Oh my
We're
God. Thank you,
unstoppable."
bro.
Three
Thank you.
weeks
Thank
ago,
you.
I
we're
didn't say they were
unstoppable.
unstoppable. I
Okay,
didn't say they
well,
were unstoppable. I said the
unstop.
offense. I said the
Okay,
offense was
go ahead,
efficient.
critique it for me. You can
No, no,
critique it
no.
because
It's not about a critique, but you guys like to make up your own stuff. I don't
no.
like.
But
I
Whittle,
didn't say
I'm
it was unstoppable.
paraphrasing. I don't know exactly what you said, but I remembered,
Yeah, but
things,
don't paraphrase. Like you can
All
act.
right.
Like did I not? Did I
All
say they
right.
were
I
unstoppable?
don't.
No.
First of
I
all,
said that the offense was
all right.
efficient.
I don't have the time to go back and watch the, all 22 of Jets Commute that was on and Spaces to, go back on. I'm just saying, like, we've had this conversation. Like, this was one of the concerns, and it shouldn't even be a concern to me because I'm not a Bills fan, but I've talked about this. Like,
Mhm.
Whittle, the guy, Josh Allen, has no interceptions. I mean, I
Do,
don't know how you can. I don't know, man. I don't know.
do you remember? Do you remember when Stephon Diggs was traded? Do you remember what Bills fans said? I don't agree with this trade because I was
mean,
one of them.
okay.
I never wanted to trade Stephon Diggs.
But what does
I
this
don't give
have
a
to
fuck
do with
about
Matt Collins
what
right
y'all
now
got
and
going
the
on.
separation and Dalton Kincaid and and Josh Allen? I just
What?
I'm
Yeah,
trying to figure
because
this out.
when these guys
Because
do
I
create
do remember
separation,
Dale
an
saying,
elite quarterback should be able to make the throw, and he's not.
So
He's
Josh
missing the
Allen is
throws.
not elite, or you don't? I mean, now you're questioning Allen.
Yeah, an elite quarterback is supposed to be able to make those throws, and he's not right now. He's not making it. But when I
okay, well, look,
asked Nate Geary,
that,
how much of this do you put on Josh Allen? He said the offense is off. Josh hasn't been in a rhythm. And a lot of that has to do with the offensive line. He started talking about receivers and coaches, but not pointing to the fact that Josh Allen is ignoring guys that are open in favor of bigger plays down the field or guys he just feels like he wants to throw to. Because I'm not saying that the defense is never winning and these guys are always open, but sometimes, and over the last 2 weeks, it's happened a lot. Josh has been off. Josh has missed guys that he should not miss. He has misread. He's misread the defense. I mean, it's there, and it's there. If I'm sure they go back and watch it and say, "Hey, right here, you could have did this and this, and it would have been a better play. It would have been a better decision." But at what point?
I'm,
At what
I'm
point
just
does
loving the
Josh
fact that you said he's not
start
elite.
doing it?
That's it. He's not elite. I appreciate that. I've been saying that
Well,
shit
I
for
mean,
a long time now.
that you have your opinion, and whatever. But again, you can't look at this team and say it's not Josh offensively right now. Like you can't actually watch
Whittle,
these
I don't
games
know,
and
man.
say that.
I'm blaming the GM because he didn't surround them with enough talent on the outside. I think yes, James Cook is really good, Kincaid's really good, but this has been my beef the whole off season. You guys don't have a wide receiver. You don't.
If Matt Collins made your roster, something fucking wrong.
Well,
Bro,
I
you
mean,
have
I won't go
Xavier
that far,
Gibson getting
dude,
more
but
snaps than Malachi Corley. Like, stop.
no,
Malachi
don't
Corley can't get a
deflect.
jersey. And you have Xavier Gibson taking snaps away. Like, please don't do that. Don't do that.
Look. You can talk about a Jet player who's not good. I don't
And
care.
neither
Like
do I.
Gibson,
Like,
you're
I
right.
think Matt Collins is a wide receiver
Gibson is
4.
bad.
I've been saying
I
from the beginning.
agree. Gibson
When
is
we
bad.
talked about the receivers,
Gibson's very
when you
bad.
asked who did I think should be the starters, I said Deion Coleman should be the X, Curtis Samuel the Y, Shakir in the slot, Knox starting tight end, Dawson Knox tight end 2. I mean, Knox tight end TE1 and Kincaid tight end 2. That's the start lineup. James Cook and running back.
I don't think
That's what it should
Kincaid
be.
should be tight end too, but Joe
You said what?
DeRosa, I don't think Kincaid should be tight end too.
He
He should be tight
absolutely
end
should be
1.
tight end 2. He absolutely
And where
should be tight
Dale
end
at?
2.
Because
Kincaid should
Dale
absolutely
sold
be
me a
tight end
bag
2.
of fucking greens.
Okay.
Dale told